Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. All heavens. Pick up cards starting from Naruto. Chapter 41. Step forward quickly. After picking up the card, Chen Tian took a few steps away, and then started to look at the card. Although he doesn't mind killing people, he doesn't like this scene either. The blue card is chakra plus 100, do you want to fuse it? The blue card adds 10 to the physical constitution. Is it fused? The blue card is fire release. Su Shao Jutsu. Is it fused? 8 blue cards in a row were all dropped by the Chunin. After fusing these blue cards, the remaining 4 purple cards are the highlight. The purple card is chakra plus 1000, do you want to fuse it? The purple card adds 100 points to the physical constitution. Is it fused? The purple card is earth escape, the art of light and heavy rock. Is it fused? The purple card is a secret technique, the art of honeycomb nesting. Is it fused? The first 3 can be seen at a glance, they must be good things. So Chenshin clicked on the specific information on the art of honeycomb nesting. The art of honeycomb nesting. You can transform your body into a honeycomb for bees to live in, thereby controlling the behavior of bees. Looking at this information, Chenshin suddenly shuddered. Isn't this the secret method of the bee-controlling family that is hostile to the Aburame family? Thinking of his body being hollowed out and filled with bees crawling around, Chenshin felt his stomach begin to churn, making him extremely nauseous. Then he shook his head very firmly and ordered, integrate everything except the honeycomb nesting technique. I will eliminate this ninjutsu. As Chen Tian's order was issued, the card in his hand representing the art of honeycomb nesting began to become transparent, and eventually collapsed into a pile of powder, completely useless. The remaining 3 purple cards were then integrated, further strengthening his strength. Now his strength has almost touched the edge of the quasi-cage level. Although his chakra is not much, it is almost equivalent to 2 Kakashi. Glancing at the system panel, Chenshin continued to head towards the capital of the Land of Fire in a cheerful mood. These money changers are all good people. Without them, they would not be able to improve their strength so quickly. Chen Tian felt like a fool as he slapped himself on the forehead. That old man, the 3rd Tsuchikage Onoki, can fly using the art of super light and heavy rocks. Although he only masters the art of light and heavy rocks, he must be able to fly. Just do it as you say. The seal was completed with a flick of your fingers, and Chen Tian's body was floating swayingly. Like climbing a tree and treading water, he fell down several times because of his lack of skill. It took almost an hour for Chen Tian to completely master the flying skills and fly in the blue sky. We still have to find a way to obtain the super light and heavy rock technique. His current flying speed is the speed of a Jonin, and the flying height cannot exceed 100 meters. The most important thing is that he consumes a lot of chakra. He can only fly for 4 hours before he runs out of chakra. After experiencing the pleasure of flying, the city of Fire Country appeared in front of the morning sky. Going into the city to have something to eat, he opened a room and started to restore chakra. You can go to the money exchange anytime, but not when you don't have chakra. It's a pity that Chen Tian didn't know it. While he was flying around, there was a group of people from the money exchange waiting for him on his way forward, but he was bypassed. I don't know what their expressions will be when they learn that the money exchange here has been destroyed. When Chen Tian appeared in the capital of the Land of Fire, the ninjas who had taken the Chunin examination had already returned to their respective villages. Without even going back home, everyone rushed into their shadow's office without stopping. While in Konoha for more than a month, what they saw and heard completely refreshed their understanding. Lord Tsuchikage, when I went to Konoha this time, I saw a lot of things I have never heard of. We must do business with Konoha. Pushing open the door of Tsuchikage's office, the rich voice of Lois rang out. Onoki looked at his son's anxious look and scolded, "Why are you so anxious? Speak slowly." After a whole day of discussion, Huangtu told everything he saw and heard in detail, which made the old man Onoki unable to believe it for a moment. However, he knew his son's honest character, so these things must be true. After reacting, they hurriedly opened a meeting of elders and sent representatives to Konoha to discuss trade matters. Not to mention Sand Shadow Village, the 4th Cage Rosa was in Konoha to watch the Chunin assessment, and he just stayed in Konoha and insisted on doing business. As time went by, the entire ninja world became aware of the changes in Konoha, and countless merchants and ninjas came every day. This made Minato 2 adults taller than him, and he worked overtime until he had no time to sleep at night. But watching a sum of money fly to Konoha like snowflakes, I felt very happy. It can be said to be painful and happy at the same time. Fortunately, Sarutobi Hiruzen watched Konoha grow stronger day by day, put down his idea of seizing power, and took the initiative to help Minato share some of the burden, and then he supported it. Only Kurikage village did not react after receiving the news. While controlling Yagura to massacre the bloodstained family, Obito contacted Shimura Danzo. Although he became a civilian, Danzo knew a lot of information. In order to kill Minato and Kushina, he told Obito about Kushina's pregnancy and birth and asked him to prepare. Thinking of Minato and Kushina, Obito still had a slight hesitation, but the voice and smile of Hirano Lin in his mind made him determined. But he didn't know that Chenshin, who was originally going to let him change his ways, sentenced him to death because he saw him on the night of the 9 tails. These are things for the future and will not be mentioned for the time being. At this time, in Miamu Mountain, one of the 3 holy places, the great toad immortal woke up. There are variables, I can't see clearly what the future will be like. The giant toad fairy's huge body was trembling a little, and his old face was full of shock and worry. Fukasaku Sennin and Shima Sennin who were waiting next to them looked at each other with disbelief in their eyes. Who is the great toad immortal? That is the supreme immortal who can see into the future. Now we can't see the future because of a variable. How is this possible? But after seeing the expression of the great toad immortal, they all fell silent. Facts speak louder than words. Following this came concerns about the future of Mount Miamu. They use the ability of the great toad immortal to see into the future, and they will become powerful psychic beasts in every great era, so they have existed until now. Just like the 6 Paths Sage 1,000 years ago, Jiraiya now, and Uzumaki Naruto in the future, these are all deliberately chosen by them to ensure that strong men will protect Miamu Mountain in every era. Can be in the future. Not only Mount Miamu, but also the other 2 holy places have seen some movement more or less. Not long after, a portrait of a figure standing with a knife in the middle of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood flowed out from the 3 holy places. In this painting, there is a blood moon hanging in the sky, and the man's black hair has been dyed red with blood, standing proudly in the sea of blood among the mountains of corpses. After resting for a day, Chen Tian left the hotel, ate something casually and took out the map in his hand. 1 kilometer to the west outside the city. That's right, no matter how you think about it, it's impossible to be in the capital of the Land of Fire, otherwise there's nothing you can hide. Put the map back into your pocket, carry the sword you bought yesterday, and stroll out of the city. This long sword was not a good thing, and it was incomparable with the white fang broken blade in Kakashi's hand, but he used it smoothly, so he bought it. I have learned 2 powerful sword skills. There is no reason to use such a cool thing. After a while, Chen Tian arrived at his destination. Looking at a lonely toilet in the wilderness, he didn't know how to complain. There is not even half a human figure here. Anyone with a sound mind can spot it, right? Just as he was about to leave, he thought about it and stopped. Although carrying a long sword on your back is cool, it's not easy to make a sneak attack. Handlessly took off the long sword and put it into his pocket, patted the spotless imperial robe, and Chen Tian took another step forward. Forget about hiding his identity, others have seen through it before, and he wants to use his own identity to attack the money exchange. When he came to the toilet, Chenshin didn't go in immediately, but quickly made seals with his hands. The technique of earth current shaking. 1, 2, 10, 20, 28 people. They probably didn't notice me. They weren't at the entrance. Feeling the slight tremor of the ground, he instantly understood the situation in the gold exchange station clearly. The opponent is not very strong, there is only 1 Junin, and the rest are Chunin and Genin, so there is no danger to him. Crunch. This time, he pushed open the wooden board behind the toilet and walked in openly. Although I am a little curious about how weak this gold exchange is, it will be destroyed. Hello everyone. The moment they entered the door, all the 28 people in the money exchange focused on Chen Tian. He showed a pure and sunny smile, looking very cute. Ha ha ha, there is really no place to hide without wearing iron shoes. It took no effort to get here. 100 million just walked right in front of me. He is mine, and whoever dares to rob me will kill you. Without any precaution or worry, you just appeared in front of me. Chenshin's name had already spread throughout the gold exchange. Almost everyone had seen his portrait and recognized him instantly. It's just that these people actually quarreled over the morning sky and didn't take him seriously at all. Alas, Chen Tian sighed helplessly, and asked with confusion on his face, "You are fighting among yourself first, aren't you afraid that I will take advantage of you?" "Ha ha 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 ha, kid, are you kidding me? I'm a Chunin. Even if you're seriously injured, I can slap you to death." The Chunin, who had a pockmarked face and wore a sultry purple kimono, heard Chen Tian's words and almost couldn't stand upright with laughter. Others also stopped and looked at him like an idiot. The bounty order stated that Chen Tian had a record of killing Chunin, but his appearance was so deceptive that these people selectively ignored his strength. This is what confuses Chen Tian the most. Everyone in the world of Naruto seems to have a kind of mysterious confidence. Kato, who looks like an ordinary person, actually dared to spray Zabuza against the elite Junin Mochi. Zabuza was confident that he could kill Kakashi. This kind of thing is almost countless, but these people just let their spirit run wild, and then died in a miserable way. Perhaps this is the unique tradition of this world. Shaked his head, Chen Tian said crisply, "Since you don't take action, then I will take action first." As soon as he finished speaking, he used a teleportation technique and headed straight for the controller of the gold exchange. He didn't want to waste time with these people. There were still more than 100 gold exchanges waiting for him. The gold exchange center is located underground. Although the internal space is not small, it is not large either. Chen Tian does not dare to use ninjutsu at will. If you use a powerful ninjutsu in such an environment, you might blow yourself up. So the moment he appeared in front of the Jonin, a long sword appeared in his right hand. Secrets, draw your sword and chop. Whoa, a white light like the moonlight flashed past, arriving in front of the Junin at a speed invisible to the naked eye. This Junin's years of combat experience saved his life. Although he didn't see Chen Tian's movements clearly, he instinctively pulled a Chunin next to him to block him. After the sword light passed, the Chunin had been divided into two halves, and there was no time to even let out a scream. Although the Junin escaped, his right arm was neatly severed in the afterglow of the sword. The intense pain continued to destroy his sanity. Just when he was about to scream, there was a flash of lightning and a pop sound, and a child's palm pierced his chest. It's actually so fast. Looking at the small hand that passed through his chest with difficulty, the Jonin's vision went dark and he lost his last consciousness. Before he died, what he regretted most was why he still looked down on this child when so much news had come from the organization. Throwing away the Jonin's body, Chen Tian stood there and wiped the bloodstains left on his hands after the lightning attack. The controller was actually killed instantly. How is it possible? The controller is a Jonin, he is just a child. Although everyone feels too dreamy, there are always smart people. After seeing Chen Tian kill the Jonin in an instant, these more than 20 people had already moved towards the entrance in secret. Until Chen Tian set his sights on them and knew that the other party had discovered it, these people shouted at the same time, "Run away quickly, we are no match for him at all." Crash. Hearing this sentence, everyone reacted and crowded towards the entrance desperately. "Get away, otherwise I'll kill you. Let me go out first, let me go out first. Death, die to me." Looking at this group of people who were extremely arrogant before, now crowded with each other at the entrance where only one person could pass, and even started to attack those who blocked them, Chen Tian curled his lips in disdain. This is the reason why I like Konoha. Even Sarutobi Hiruzen is willing to use his life to protect other people. With a sigh, Chenshin suddenly moved. He used the teleportation technique one after another. The long sword in his hand waved and flashed again and again, taking away a life every time. Even if some people want to resist, Chen Tian's nearly perfect teleportation technique is already almost as fast as the flying thunder god in such a venue, and they can't even see clearly. It only took less than 30 seconds for Chen Tian's figure to appear again, but at this time there was no one standing except him. Picked up all the dozens of white and blue cards on the ground, and focused on the only purple card. After picking it up, I didn't rush to check it out, but came to the entrance. The smell of blood here is too strong and he doesn't like it very much. It's better to check the cards after leaving. Putting his right hand gently on the wooden door of the entrance, Chenshin shouted, "The seal of the 4 elephants, open." That's right, he had sealed the entrance before entering to ensure that no one could escape. Otherwise, it would not be easy for him to hunt down these people after they escape. After all, there are many of them. Fire escape. The great fire is extinguished. After opening the seal and leaving the money exchange, Chenshin turned around and threw a fire at him. Looking at the raging fire burning the ruins of the money exchange, he gently threw out a wanted notice. After leaving Chenshin, this wanted order fell to the ground like a stone. It was clearly Chenshin's own wanted order. With the blessing of the art of light and heavy rock, even paper has the gravity of stone. Nodding with satisfaction, he put away his sword and headed towards the next destination without looking back. Not long after Chen Tian left, those who went to besiege him also came to this place. Looking at the burning money exchange, everyone's face turned black. Especially the intact reward orders on the ground, as if they were nakedly mocking them. Look around, he must not have gone far. With an order, dozens of people dispersed instantly, trying not to miss any corner. What a pity, Chenshin has flown away now. Although the speed is not fast, it does not leave any traces. Half a year has passed since the first gold exchange was eliminated, and Kushina will give birth in 2 months at most. During this period, Chenshin destroyed a total of 23 money exchanges, and killed more than 300 people. Most of them are Chunin, the rest are Junin, and there are almost no Genin. This was only the result of 3 months. No matter which money exchange I went to in the morning, it was empty and there was no one in it. Looking at the thin layer of dust, it was obvious that almost all the people in the money exchange had evacuated. I searched for a full month, but I didn't meet anyone from the money exchange. In desperation, he left the Kingdom of Fire and came to the Kingdom of Earth to inquire for information. At first, a few ninjas and samurai belonging to the money exchange could be found, but not long after, these people also disappeared. During this period, Chen Tian discovered that there were actually many blood-stained ninjas in the money exchange, and their physiques were extraordinary. It's just that after dying in Chenshin's hands, these bloodstains became his bloodstains. What surprised him the most was that his Senju physique actually gave birth to a wooden escape, which was the same as the first Hokage, instead of the garbage like Yamato. After wandering around the Earth Kingdom for another 2 months, Chen Tian wanted to return to Konoha when he found nothing. Through his efforts, there are many strong people in Konoha, but Chen Tian is still worried, so he plans to return to Konoha first. Well, I'm on my way, let's go from the land of rain, maybe we can meet Konan and Nagato. After thinking for a while, he lowered his head and determined that Kushina would not give birth until 2 months later. Chen Tian walked towards the land of rain. A few years ago, demigod Hanzo had died at the hands of Nagato, so Nagato was in control of the rain country at this time. Has a clear understanding of Nagato's powerful morning sky, so he only plans to take a look from a distance and leave. The reason why he has such a plan is because his strength has become much stronger, which gives him some confidence. Although the cards picked up in the past 6 months are not high-end products such as gold and red, they can't stand up to the large number. So he forcefully boosted his strength, but now he still has one thing to do. Host, Chenshin, Talent, Space Talent LV3, Taijutsu, Konoha Great Whirlwind LV8, omitted for full level. Ninjutsu, Portable Space LV1, Go Fireball Technique LV8, Earth Flood Wall Technique LV7, Earth Dragon Bullet Technique LV9, Reikiri LV7, Water Formation Wall LV7, Water Dragon Bullet LV9, Instantaneous Body Technique LV9, Tailed Beast Jade LV4. Earth Flow City Wall LV6, Thunder Escape Earth Walking LV8, Earth Escape Technique LV6, Earth Flow Shaking Technique LV9, Powerful Fire Extinguishing LV6, Multiple Shadow Clones LV7, Plane Burning Technique LV4, Light and Heavy Rock Technique LV8 omitted for full level. Sword Skills. Secret Manual, Drawing the Sword and Cutting LV8, Secret Manual, Yanwei LV5. Medical Ninjutsu. Palm Immortal Technique, Healing Technique, and the Technique of Extracting Minor Problems. Sealing Technique, omitted. Physique. Senju's Constitution, Uchiha's constitution, Kagaya's constitution, Minazuki's constitution, Hyuga's constitution. Physical fitness. Jonin. Losing chakra can defeat a Junin. Comprehensive combat power. Shadow level primary. Note: when the host reaches the shadow level, the system can be upgraded. After the upgrade, it will be integrated with similar ninjutsu. Do you want to upgrade? Yes, no. This line of text appeared after Chen Tian reached the shadow level, and it made him happy for a long time. Although he kept picking up cards, Chen Tian estimated that even the Sage of Six Paths didn't know as many ninjutsu as he did. But most of them are unused ninjutsu and blood stains, and it feels like it is tasteless and a pity to throw away. Every time he opened the system panel, he was dazzled by the densely packed system panels. Now he is finally free from this trouble. Fusion. Without any hesitation, and even a little excited, Chen Tian clicked on it immediately. System upgrade in progress. Skills are being integrated. Physique fusion. About half an hour later, Chen Tian, who was flying in the air, suddenly found that he had lost control of his body and fell from the air. Fortunately, it was only 3 meters above the ground. With his Jonin physique, he could easily carry it down. But his body was still unable to move, and he could only lie straight on the ground, unable to move except for his eyeballs. This didn't happen last time I upgraded, so I won't remind you. I was yelling madly in my heart, but the system had no response. Knowing that scolding couldn't solve the problem, his brain started spinning rapidly. This is very close to the land of rain. 1 kilometer ahead, one can already see the rain falling from Nagato's sensing ninjutsu, Rain Tiger Free technique. It's nothing like an ordinary beast. The murderous aura in him is enough to scare them away, even if a ninja from the land of rain suddenly appears. Hanzo might not dare to touch him while he was still alive, but that lunatic Nagato would definitely dare, and he would be dead by then. But when Chen Tian's mind was spinning, he didn't realize that his hair had begun to slowly change color. The originally black short hair started to turn purple from the roots to the tips. The next thing is the change of the body. Originally, the height of 1.24 meters was considered normal at the age of 7, but it stopped growing to 1.4 meters in half an hour. This is already as high as Kakashi half a year ago. In addition to these, his body has become perfect little by little. When he lifts his clothes, you can see his perfect 8-pack abs, which are exactly the golden body proportions. The originally cute little face has not lost its appearance. Although the change is not big, it has changed from cute to handsome. He is not that handsome like a girl, but full of masculine beauty, which makes people reluctant to look away after seeing him. After all these changes, a strange gas continued to pour into Chenshin's body, strengthening from the cellular level. If Jiraiya were here, he would be speechless in surprise, because these gases are obviously natural energy. If we switch to a fantasy world, these are all representatives of aura. It took 2 full days of breathing before this change stopped, but Chenshin still couldn't move. At this moment in Chenshin, except for those close to him, no one else would recognize him. It's a pity that he doesn't know all this. He is like a disabled person with high paraplegia, who can't feel even if his body is sliced into pieces. After 2 days of nothing happening, Chen Tian felt relieved. But God does not follow your wishes. When you least want something to happen, it will happen. No, a woman wearing a red cloud costume with a black background flew overhead in the morning sky, with 2 beautiful paper wings behind her. The moment he saw this figure, although he knew it was useless, he subconsciously held his breath. But the worst thing happened. The woman who had flown over suddenly flew back again. It seemed that the target was him. No, Xiaonan, don't come over. Don't come over. With Chen Tian, acquainted with this person, Xiaonan, who is responsible for the good looks of Xiao's organization. Other than Kagaya, this is the most ruthless woman in the world of Naruto, with a total of 60 million detonating talismans that have shaken the morning sky for 180 streets. The most important thing is that this guy is a standard shadow level powerhouse. If Chen Tian, who cannot move, falls into her hands, the consequences can be imagined. But no matter how he prayed, Xiaonan still landed next to him. Why is that serious expression still a little cute? Bah, bah, bah. What are you thinking about? What you should be thinking about now is how to save your life. After despising himself fiercely, Chen Tian quickly started to think. He thought he had rich expressions, but due to the system upgrade, in Xiaonan's eyes, his expression had not changed at all. Looking at the child lying on the ground, he looked at the clothes that had been torn by various small animals in the past 2 days, the messy hair, dirty face, and skinny figure that had been exposed to the wind and sun for 2 days. Combining the distance between this place and the land of rain, Xiaonan suddenly figured out the origin of Chenshin. Obviously, this child is a wanderer in the land of rain just like she and Nagato Yahiko were back then. It must have been the war caused by himself and Nagato when they were organizing the rain country after they killed Hanzo, which made this child lose his parents. That's why I can't survive and want to leave the country of rain. Unfortunately, he was so hungry that he fainted when he got here. When he woke up, he had no strength to move, so he could only lie here and wait to die. Thinking of this, Xiaonan felt a sense of guilt and distress in her heart, and she also felt a lot of empathy. Because she was just like this child before. She became an orphan because of the war and often suffered from hunger and cold. The reason why I think this is that, in addition to Chen Tian's eyes that are the same as those of the dead Yahiko, there is also the chakra that is so weak that Chen Tian has almost no chakra. It is obvious that he is an ordinary person. Zonin placed all her guilt on the rain country on this child and decided to take him back first. Chenshin didn't know what was going on in Xiaonan's heart, he only saw her standing next to him blankly. That charming and pretty face is sometimes filled with guilt, sometimes with nostalgia, and is constantly changing. If he knew what Xiaonan was thinking, he would definitely say, the clothes are torn because they were done by small animals, they are dirty because they have been lying here for 2 days, their skin is yellow and thin because their bodies have been modified too much. They originally had natural energy replenishment, but later after I stopped absorbing it, I started to consume the energy in my body, my eyes were just stunned by you. It's a pity that he doesn't know any of this, and he doesn't even know about his own changes, and is still hoping that Xiaonan won't recognize him. Alas, what are you going to do? Stop it, you female hooligan. Suddenly, Xiaonan reached out and hugged Chenshin. Although he was crazy in his heart, he couldn't stop the other party's actions. Seeing helplessly that he was getting closer and closer to the land of rain, Chen Tian completely gave up on his unrealistic fantasies. The 2 bright eyes were full of helplessness, and they could only resign themselves to fate. After a while, Chen Tian was taken to the kingdom of rain by Xiaonan. They found a room to put him down temporarily, and then left alone to find Nagato. The position of Nagato's body cannot be exposed, Xiaonan knows this very well. Woman, can't you have a better posture? He turned his head to the right, pressed his left hand under his body, and his whole body twisted like an octopus. Although he didn't feel anything, Chen Tian was still very unhappy. While his eyes were wandering around, he suddenly saw a large mirror not far from the bed. Suddenly, thoughts began to wander in his mind. This can't be Xiaonan's own room, right? Women love beauty, such a big mirror. But before he could finish his emotion, a horrifying scene happened. Who is that person in the mirror? For a moment, Chen Tian didn't even recognize himself when he saw his own image. Other than the change in appearance, what's the matter with the bird on your forehead? What's with the chicken coop-like hair? Why did my handsome royal robe turn into a beggar's attire? A series of questions arose in his mind. Although he didn't want to admit it, he knew it was him. It was just messed up by the system. Then he breathed a sigh of relief. It would be nice to change his appearance, so that he wouldn't be afraid of being recognized. There was no danger to his life anymore. His big heart came into play instantly, and he instantly guessed why Xiaonan brought him back. In the original work, Xiaonan was very kind when she was a child, but life later changed her. But even so, she will still have some good intentions in her heart, and it is impossible to erase them all. They created the Akatsuki organization so that everyone could live in peace, but now because of their own reasons, the Kingdom of Rain has entered war again, so they feel guilty. In combination with my current honor, everything is so logical. After learning Xiaonan's purpose, Chen Tian no longer worried at all, and began to observe Xiaonan's room. Zonin, who left the room on the other side, came all the way to where Nagato's body was. Creak. Xiaonan opened the door and said softly, Nagato, I'm back. How did things go? Were you injured? Nagato's tone was a little low, but it was full of concern. Since Yahiko's death, Konan has been his only relative. All the ninjas who escaped were dead, and I was not injured. After a pause, Xiaonan continued. I brought back a child who was about to starve to death because of the war. Then she told everything about what happened after meeting Chen Tian, and proposed the idea of taking Chen Tian in. Nagato frowned at first, but slowly relaxed as Konan told her story. When he learned that Chen Tian was orphaned because of the war, the guilt in his eyes flashed away, but then turned into determination. He is for the peace of the ninja world, and it is necessary to sacrifice a few people. If Chen Tian saw the emotions of the two of them at this time, he would definitely sigh, young people. That is to say, not long after they avenged Yahiko, the Akatsuki organization was just preparing to recruit rebel ninja. If they were to fight with a group of rebels 12 years later, they would probably destroy him humanely when they saw him. No matter in that world, young people in their 20s are not that thoughtful. After Konan finished speaking, Nagato said, okay, but he is not a member of the Akatsuki organization. The Akatsuki organization will be S-level rebellious ninjas in the future, and there is no place for ordinary children. This is also for the good of the child, to keep him away from dangerous people. Then Nagato added, you can teach that child to practice ninjutsu. If you need ninjutsu, you can come to me. Hearing this, Xiaonan showed a charming smile, as if the constant rain in the land of rain had been diluted. Since this child became like this because of us, let me compensate him. With this thought in her mind, Xiaonan never considered that those things were all made up in her head, and Chen Tian never said a word at all. Emotional women are really scary. After leaving Nagato, Xiaonan quickly returned to his room with a pile of food in his hand. Seeing Chen Tian's embarrassed appearance, especially the extremely conspicuous bird droppings, he immediately slapped his forehead. Put down the food in your hands and take him to take a bath. Female gangster. My innocence, you must be responsible for me. Enjoying the free bath from the beautiful woman, Chen Tian almost smiled crookedly in his heart. During this process, Xiaonan's cheeks turned red and she felt very shy. Although Chenshin is only a 7-year-old child, he is 1.4 meters tall, and Xiaonan is only 19 years old this year. After taking a bath and changing his clothes, Xiaonan threw him on the bed and started feeding him. Although they were all liquid foods, they still made Chenshin very satisfied. After finishing this, Xiaonan left him to recover on his own and went to other rooms to rest. She was also very tired after going out to hunt down the disobedient ninjas in the land of rain. Shortly after Xiaonan left, Chenshin suddenly found that his fingers seemed to be able to move. Slowly, I began to feel sensation in my arms, calves, thighs, etc., and I would be able to resume movement soon. Not long after, as the system beeped, system upgrade completed, the morning sky returned to normal. Open the system panel. Without caring about other things, Chen Tian immediately began to observe his various attributes. Host, Chenshin. Physique, Jonin. Strength, Shadow level intermediate. Physique, Hunyuan gas LV1 0/100. Note, there are 10 levels in total. After reaching the full level, you can destroy the sky with one glance. Skill, 10,000 techniques from the heart LV1 0/100. Note, there are 10 levels in total, and all fused ninjutsu can be released without seals. Chenkin Bagua Array LV1 0/100. Note, there are 10 levels in total, and all sealing techniques can be cast without seals. Creation Seal LV1 0/100. Note, there are 10 levels in total. It can cure all damage. The effect increases with the level. One knife and two disconnected LV1 0/100. Note, there are 10 levels in total, only one knife can split mountains, open the sky, and the effect is improved with the level. Ancient God War 55 1 0/100. Note, there are 10 levels in total, containing infinite melee combat methods, and the effect increases with the level. At a glance, the system merged the thousands of various ninjutsu he had learned into 5 comprehensive techniques. Each represents ninjutsu, sealing technique, healing technique, sword technique and taijutsu. Although he is fused, he can use his previous ninjutsu at any time if he wants. And with the upgrade of these 5 techniques, the power of the ninjutsu he used before has also been greatly enhanced. After communicating with the system, Chen Tian realized that if these 5 techniques want to be upgraded, new ninjutsu must be continuously incorporated in order to improve the level, including physical fitness. The special constitution of Hunyuan is gas. Its function is to accommodate all things in the world, and everything can be integrated into it. The system is serious this time. Looking at the brand new system panel, Chen Tian knew that all these techniques and physiques were modified to allow him to better integrate cards in the future. Feeling the powerful strength in his body, Chen Tian wanted to find someone to fight to prove his current strength. But the next moment, the endless hunger suddenly emerged, and he almost screamed out in surprise. Ignoring the experience of my strength, I left the room as quickly as possible, found a restaurant and started eating. One more serving of all the dishes. Pointing to the plate that was already as tall as a person on the ground, Chen Tian puffed out his cheeks and mumbled to the boss. No one in the restaurant continued to eat, and they all looked at Chen Tian with astonishment in their eyes. The boss smiled bitterly and said, "The cook has collapsed and can't stand up now. Do you think?" Bah! Hundreds of bills were thrown on the table, and Chen Tian said in a muffled voice, "Go and borrow whatever you want, I want to eat." Okay, I'll go right away." As if he was afraid that Chen Tian would regret it, the boss took the money and ran out quickly. After eating a hearty meal that paralyzed 5 cooks, he was finally full. As he continued to eat, Chen Tian's figure recovered little by little, and then he stopped until he returned to his previous perfect figure. I wanted to leave like this, but looking at the sparse rain outside, I gave up the idea. As long as in this rain, it is estimated that no one except Heizetsu can avoid being discovered by Nagato, and even Chen Tian can't. If he leaves by force, he can't defeat Nagato now. Plus Xiaonan will definitely be hung up and beaten. In desperation, Chen Tian could only return to Xiaonan's room. A month has passed in a flash. The relationship between Chen Tian and Xiaonan has become closer, and they even met Nagato's true form twice. I have to say that these 2 people had a good attitude towards him and taught Chen Tian sincerely. This made him feel entangled in his heart. He originally planned to kill them in the future to explode the cards, but he didn't expect that he would gradually develop feelings for them. But these are things for the future. The top priority is to return to Konoha. Kushina is about to give birth. After a lot of hard work and showing the strength of Chunin, Xiaonan gave him a holiday. You can take these detonating talismans, don't save them, I have plenty more. Throwing a storage scroll to Chen Tian, Xiaonan's face was full of worry. Looking at the detonating talisman in the storage scroll, Chen Tian opened his mouth and his face was full of disbelief. 1 million detonating charms. After sending Chen Tian out of the land of rain and watching him go away, Xiaonan spread his wings and went looking for the S-level traitor ninja cape. The Akatsuki organization's plan to recruit rebel ninjas has officially begun. She and Nagato are both leaving the country of rain, so it's good to let Chen Tian go out for a while. After trotting all the way away from the Kingdom of Rain, Wanfa suddenly activated from the heart, and the morning sky shot out with a whoosh. Holy shit, level 1 Wanfa Yuxin actually made my flying speed double. Feeling the strong wind blowing against my face, I felt a surge of pride. The art of powerful fireball. Boom! The fireball, which was the size of a car tire, suddenly hit the ground. The power of the explosion was enough to rival sea-level ninjutsu. Other people's fireball technique is only as big as a basketball, but mine is as powerful as a car tire, more than twice as powerful. It seems that other ninjutsu are about the same. Staring at the crater left by the explosion of the Go fireball, Chen Tian secretly speculated on the power of his other ninjutsu. Whoosh! At this moment, a shuriken suddenly shot towards him, aiming at his legs. Water formation wall. With a wave of his right hand, a curtain of water appeared under his feet, blocking the shuriken. With the blessing of Wanfa Yuxin, these ninjutsu are not only instantaneous, but can also be changed at will. Little devil, have you seen this person? The next moment, the person who attacked Chen Tian had appeared not far from him, took out a wanted notice and asked. Looking closely, it was clearly his own wanted poster, but this person did not recognize him. The questioner actually took action directly. It's worthy of the money exchange. He complained secretly in his heart, and the morning sky slowly descended. Finally, someone came to the door, but we couldn't let him run away. Rach! The moment he landed on the ground, his body suddenly galloped out. In a flash of lightning, he appeared behind the person who came. It's a pity, it's just a little bit worse. Chen Tian shook off the blood on his hands, his face full of regret. Like was already fast, but now it doubled again, which made him fail to grasp the angle well and made mistakes. Until this, there was no movement behind him, and the man's left arm fell to the ground. Although Chenshin's blow missed, it also cut off his left arm. How is it possible? How can you be so strong? Hutching his broken arm, the man roared hoarsely, but his face was full of fear. Originally, I thought that the other person was just a child who had mastered the flying ninjutsu, and he could just kill him after asking questions. Unexpectedly, the opponent actually cut off his arm with one blow, without even reacting. I was wrong, please spare my life. Without his arms, he couldn't form the seal, at least he couldn't, so he knelt on the ground and begged bitterly. But the moment he lowered his head, his eyes were full of viciousness. Shaked his head, Chenshin asked with interest, "Aren't you looking for me? Why are you begging for mercy now? This person is a big fish at the shadow level. Not to mention the quality of the cards, at least if this person dies, it will take a lot of effort to exchange for gold." For this reason alone, it was impossible for Chen Tian to let him go. The next moment, a long sword had pierced his chest. "You are Chen Tian." At the last moment before his death, this man was still full of doubts. "The villain dies because he talks too much, I won't give you a chance." With a few words, he picked up the red card on the ground, and Chen Tian left leisurely. On a hilltop in the distance, a red-haired woman looked at the departing morning sky in horror. That powerful strength completely shocked her soul. "He seems to have come out of the kingdom of rain, so I'll go there." Rubbing her belly, which was 10 months pregnant, the woman slowly walked towards the land of rain. It didn't take long for Chenshin to return to Konoha smoothly. "When I went home, I ran into Kushina's best friend Uchiha Makoto. When she saw the child in his arms, she knew that Kushina was about to give birth. Uchiha Makoto is carrying Uchiha Sasuke, who is less than a month old than Maelstrom Naruto. Since he has been born, Naruto is not far away. By the way, when he saw Makoto, he also saw Uchiha Itachi. Itachi, who was only 2 years younger than him, started to shine with admiration in his eyes when he saw him. Chenshin smiled at this and didn't take it to heart. He is almost 7 years old this year, and there is no one in Konoha who does not admire him under the age of 10. It is normal to have another Uchiha Itachi. Almost all cage-level experts in Konoha have a close relationship with him, and the Hokage is his brother, and his achievements are spread without fail. This situation resulted from the fact that his reputation in Konoha was greater than that of Hokage. After chatting with Maken for a few words, Chenshin couldn't wait to return home. After everyone celebrated, they began to discuss Kushina's affairs. Kushina's birth will be at the edge of Konoha, where a strong enough seal has been placed. The third wife, Mrs. Sarutobi Bawako, will personally deliver the baby, and I will also take care of it. Minato didn't hide anything from Chenshin and told him all about his plan. The seal will be loosened when the Jinchuriki is produced, and the tailed beast will definitely want to break the seal. This is an extremely dangerous thing. If someone maliciously sabotages it, the consequences will be. In this way, I will take Jiraiya, Orochimaru, and Tsunade to stay nearby to prevent accidents. Even if an accident occurs, plus the 5 shadow levels of you and me, brother, we will fight back the 9 tails. Although Obito's blackening had already been destroyed, what he saw and heard during this period made him fearful. He is a butterfly that its wings, but many things are still happening, including Obito. It's just that. Glancing at Sarutobi Hiruzen sitting next to him, Chen Tian hesitated to speak. Minato, Jiraiya, Orochimaru, and Tsunade instantly understood Chenshin's concerns. Sarutobi Hiruzen's idea of taking control of power was shattered in their hands. Who knows whether Sarutobi Bawako will take advantage of this? There is no such thing in the original work, but there is no morning sky that can completely suppress Sarutobi Hiruzen. God knows whether he will take desperate risks now that he is powerless. Just when he was thinking about this, Chen Tian saw several people laughing, which made him feel confused. It was his good brother Minato who explained it to him. the third generation is now the Hokage's assistant, and he is in charge of the power of Konoha with me. He is very reliable. Hearing this, Chenshin's eyes widened. He helped Minato solve this problem without hesitation, and you sent him back again. But looking at the other people smiling, it doesn't seem like this. At this moment, Sarutobi Hiruzen seemed to have seen Chen Tien's thoughts, and said personally, I once really wanted to restrict Minato's rights, but it turned out that Minato was more suitable for Hokage, so I let it go. Seeing Konoha becoming more and more prosperous day by day, the obsession in my heart is getting smaller and smaller. As long as Konoha can be strong, I can naturally let go. What's more, my power now is greater than when I was Hokage. Quote. Looking at Sarutobi Hiruzen's clear conscience, Chen Tien was silent for a moment, not knowing whether to believe him or not. Then I thought that in the original work he died fighting to protect Konoha, and I immediately understood his thoughts. Sarutobi Hiruzen has done many wrong things for the sake of power, but his contribution to Konoha is really not small. It can even be said that he has been working hard for the development of Konoha his whole life, but he just used it in the wrong way. Now seeing Konoha getting better day by day, knowing that he can't do it, he turns to support what Minato said. Even Chen Tien suspected that if anyone dared to make Minato step down now, Sarutobi Hiruzen would be the first to fight. Based on this, Chen Tien looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen with much kinder eyes. Just because he died fighting for Konoha, Chen Tien believed in his sincerity. In that case, after taking a look at the expressions of several people, Chen Tien continued, then the third generation will guard Konoha, the eldest brother will accompany Kushina, and the other 4 of us will guard the 4 directions. Although Chen Tien didn't say anything, the third generation of adults reassured everyone. Jiraiya, Tsunade and Orochimaru are all disciples of the third generation, and their relationship is still in place. Minato is also a disciple of 3 generations, so he can be considered a family. In addition to controlling the power in Minato's hands, the third generation was very good to Minato. They are also afraid that if Chen Tien continues to fight with Sandai, it will not end well. But just keep something in mind about this kind of thing, the top priority is Kushina's problem. Tsunade, the #1 medical ninja in the ninja world, checked and determined that Kushina would give birth within 2 days, and preparations must be made as soon as possible. Everyone was thinking about Chen Tien's words, but in the end they still looked at Minato. After all, Kushina is his wife and the child born is his child. It is best for him to make decisions on these matters. Okay, let's do this. He originally planned to accompany him alone, and there was no need to mobilize troops. But since Chenshin is so determined, he will not object. My younger brother has always had his own opinion and is very mysterious. Since he insists on doing this, it means that something will definitely happen that he doesn't know about. So it's best to be careful. Everyone present knew that Chenshin had a secret, but they did not ask. Anyway, Chen Tien has been helping Konoha and helping them. What's wrong with the secret? Just ask you what's wrong. After the discussion, everyone went back to their homes to find their mothers. Unexpectedly, he happened to meet the 5-year-old Uchiha Itachi again on the road, and he kept following him. After discovering Itachi, Chenshin changed direction and walked towards the river where Naruto caught fish when he was a child. Come out and follow me. What's the matter? Seeing that there was no one around, Chenshin stared at a tree behind him with a half-smile and said, Lord Chenshin, I just. Itachi came out with a red face, stumbling when he spoke, and looked very cute. A small carrot head made Chen Tien sigh in his heart. The weasel is still cute when he was a child. Then he comforted him softly. Don't be in a hurry. Speak slowly. I don't blame you. After listening to Chenshin's words, Itachi gradually relaxed. Even the future Itachi god would still be nervous when he saw his idol when he was 4 years old. Sir Chenshin, thank you, if it weren't for you Uchiha. Although Itachi didn't finish speaking, Chenshin understood what he meant. It was because of his own fault that Konoha developed vigorously, which suppressed the conflict between Konoha and Uchiha. Otherwise, the annihilation of the Uchiha clan may not be far away. However, Chen Tien understands this matter very well and is just suppressing it for the time being. It is estimated that conflicts will break out again in a few years. The inside story cannot be explained in a moment. After taking a look at the sky, Chenshin shook his head and said, "This matter is not so easy to solve. I have something to do these days. I'd like to chat with you after a while." Although he was a little confused, Itachi nodded obediently and said, "Okay, then I won't disturb Lord Chenshin." Looking at Itachi's leaving figure, Chen Tian was also a little surprised. He didn't expect that he would know these things when he was only 5 years old. No wonder Sandai said he could think like a shadow since he was a child. But when I thought about him being the crown prince of Uchiha, I felt relieved again. After returning home, Chen Tian also thought about what happened when he met Weasel today. After thinking about it, he suddenly smiled and said, "I didn't expect this little guy to even consider this." Itachi, or the entire Uchiha, had nothing to do with him, but Itachi just found him. Chenshin doesn't believe that all this is because he is his idol. The real reason, Chen Tian just figured it out, is because of his identity. Although he is only a Konoha genin, he has a close relationship with the Hokage, Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, and Konoha Sannin. Even Orochimaru stayed in Konoha entirely because of himself. So as long as he is willing to show kindness to Uchiha, Konoha will have the same attitude. I wonder if the little guy thought of it himself, or if someone gave him advice. But no matter what, Chenshin will take care of this issue. He does not want to see internal fighting in Konoha. While he was thinking, among the Uchiha clan, the little Itachi was discussing with a boy who was older than Chen Tian. "Brother Shisui, why does Master Chenshin say this matter cannot be ended so easily?" Although he has been very smart since he was a child, Itachi is still too young to understand. Uchiha Shisui opposite him is not very old either, but he is still 11 years old. Having some understanding of this kind of thing, he asked Itachi to find Chenshin. Shisui is the son of Uchiha Kagami of the 3rd Hokage faction. He has been ostracized by the Uchiha clan after his father died in the war. In addition, Sandai took advantage of this to inquire about information from him many times, so he naturally knew these things. After thinking about it, he touched Weasel's hair and said, "You are still too young now. You will know later." After saying that, the two of them left here and went home. Not long after they left, a one-eyed man wearing black night clothes and a spiral pattern mask appeared here. Judging from his appearance, he came through space, so he did not trigger Konoha's alarm system. He took a deep look at Konoha. He had already heard about the changes here, but he was still surprised. Then there was endless anger. "Lin is dead, but you are getting better and better, you all deserve to die." After saying this through gritted teeth, his figure was once again swallowed up by space, heading towards the roots of Konoha's underground. He is going there to find his partners and find out where Kushina will be given birth. After a good sleep, I felt refreshed in the morning. Although it is known that Kushina will give birth tonight, no one except Chenshin knows the specific time. In desperation, everyone stood guard near the house, trying to get Kushina to the place of birth as soon as possible. "Kakashi, do you want a bite?" With just one glance, Kakashi's silver-white hair exposed him to the morning sky. Haunted a bunch of 3-color meatballs and walked up to Kakashi, shook them in front of him and swallowed them in one gulp. I was helpless when I was recognized, but after seeing Chen Tian's actions, my head was filled with black lines. If he could beat Chen Tian, he would definitely let Chen Tian know why the flowers are so red. However, in the past few days, he has learned about the strength of Chen Xinying level, and besides not being able to believe it, he still can't believe it. The cage level is not a big deal, it is the cage of the 5 great ninja villages. How does it feel to be like a little brat you knew in your previous life who suddenly became able to dominate the country you live in? While the morning was teasing this and that, the time soon came to evening. The moment the first ray of sunset appeared, he came to Kushina's side instantly. As expected, Kushina's stomach hurt the next moment. "The time has come, let's take action." With Chenshin's words, many Anbu around immediately began to move, and Minato used the flying thunder god to take Kushina away immediately. Looking at the surrounding Sannin of Konoha, Chen Tian said, "We should get in position. 3rd generation, Konoha will be left to you." The 3 of them nodded at the same time and headed towards their respective directions. Leaving Sarutobi Hiruzen back to the Hokage's office alone. Because it had been arranged in advance, everyone returned quickly and everything was on track. In addition to Minato accompanying him in the room, Chenshin, Jiraiya, Orochimaru, and Tsunade were located in the 4 directions of southeast, northwest and northwest outside the barrier. There are still a large number of Anbu guarding the places they cannot take care of, so it can be said that the situation is foolproof. Recalling that there were only a few Anbu in the original work, and they were killed by Obito in one blow, now this lineup is incredibly powerful. Let alone Obito, even Nagato would probably be beaten and called daddy. So the worries in Chenshin's heart were slightly relieved. But I don't know why, I always feel like something bad is going to happen. Shaked his head to get rid of these thoughts, perhaps it's because care leads to chaos. There is no way anything will happen to this lineup. Forcibly suppressing his inner worries, he carefully inspected his surroundings. After a while, Chenshin felt the sudden fluctuations in the barrier and knew that production had begun. In the barrier, the 9-tailed chakra overflowed, and Minato immediately used the sealing technique to stop the 9-tailed chaos. Who is it? Die for me. At this moment, Tsunade, who was in the north, suddenly shouted loudly, instantly alerting Chenshin, Jiraiya and others. You guys should guard this place and notify us as soon as possible if anything happens. With a command, Chenshin immediately galloped out. The same goes for Jiraiya and Orochimaru in the other 2 directions. They arranged for people to guard them carefully to prevent anyone from rushing out after inducing the tiger to leave the mountain. With a teleportation technique comparable to that of the Flying Thunder God, Chen Tian was the first to arrive near Tsunade. Looking at it, it turned out that the person coming was Uchiha Obito. In an instant, the murderous intention in Chen Tian's heart surged wildly, and he couldn't hold it back at all. Originally, he wanted to use Obito to lay out the plan, but he thought too highly of himself. Thinking of Obito's purpose, except for the word, kill, Chen Tian's mind went blank. Whatever layout you want, just go through it one by one. After spitting out these words coldly, Chen Tian no longer hesitated, used the teleportation technique, and appeared in front of Tsunade in an instant. I'll do it. Blocking in front of Tsunade, Chenshin faced Uchiha Obito. Tsunade is indeed powerful, but his anemia has not yet healed. God knows whether Obito will take advantage of this. As Tsunade retreated, Jiraiya and Orochimaru also arrived at the same time, forming a feint horns with Chen Tian. A few people looked at each other and made up their minds to keep this person who dared to make trouble. But no one knew the pain in Obito's heart. Aren't I just here to release the 9 tails? Why do you have so many shadow-level guards? According to the plan, the most is Namikaze Minato and Sarutobi Hiruzen, what are the others? Looking at the ferocious eyes of these people, Obito's face was still filled with tears behind his mask. Now he no longer thinks about releasing the 9 tails, but starts to think about how to retreat strategically. Who are you? I wanted to take action directly, but since Jiraiya asked, Chenshin could only take a moment. Obito pretended to be calm and said in a cold voice, my name is Madara Uchiha. Although a lot of people were panicked, I have to say that the power of this name is unparalleled. Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru were slightly shocked when they heard this, and then their expressions gradually became serious. He curled his lips disdainfully, and Chen Tian cursed disdainfully. Bullshit Uchiha Madara, you want Uchiha Madara, how can we still stand here? After saying this, he was too lazy to continue chatting with Obito, so he took out his sword and slashed with it. With a sound of shoo, the silver-white sword light seemed to be able to cut through space, instantly passing through Obito's body. It's useless, Obito mocked, you can't hurt him at all. He was about to use his divine power to fool these people, but unfortunately Chenshin didn't give him a chance. Attack in turns, without any gaps in between, he can last up to 5 minutes. While wielding the ninjutsu, Chen Tian looked at Obito with a mocking look, almost making him spit out a mouthful of 82-year-old blood. The purpose of rushing to take action before was to force out Obito's divine power. Now that the goal is achieved, all he needs to do is attack without leaving any gaps for 5 minutes. Jiraiya and Orochimaru did not dare to neglect, and attacked Obito one after another. A long-term attack, then, use the ninja technique, the formation of 10,000 snakes. Once Orochimaru takes action, it will definitely be extraordinary. Densely packed, countless snakes of various colors suddenly appeared, biting towards Obito like they were dying. Although these snakes do not do much damage, their poison is not weak, and Obito can only maintain his divine power to prevent these snakes from touching him. Looking at these snakes, Jiraiya could say that Chenshin and Tsunade retreated a dozen meters at the same time. If someone with trypophobia sees this scene, he will probably faint to the ground immediately. In desperation, Obito maintained his divine power and began to move, but under the pursuit of Chen Tian and others, he had to maintain his divine power. Soon, 5 minutes had passed, and Obito was forced to release his divine power. The wheezing sound like a bellows could definitely show his exhaustion, but the morning sky would not spare him. Rage. The blue lightning flashed away, and Chen Tian's right hand pierced Obito's chest. Solved. Orochimaru and others breathed a sigh of relief. This ninjutsu was too difficult. Izanami. Looking at Obito disappearing little by little in front of him, Chenshin yelled, "He's not dead yet, be careful, he's escaped." 5 minutes later, the morning sky was extinguished by a huge fire, but Obito was sent to Wonquan and cremated without even a trace of dregs left. Obito, thank you very much. I know what you want to ask. Chenshin clapped his hands and said, "We will talk after this matter is over. Let's continue the mission now." The development of things did not go beyond Chenshin's expectations. Obito was a complete waste except for the kaleidoscope illusion and virtualization, and the weak would escape brought by Hashirama cells. His virtualization is disabled and he can't even release a huge fireball. How can he be strong? So it was natural that he died here. In order not to make Kakashi and Minato sad, Chenshin cremated him for free. When he picked up the card, he found a golden one waving to him. A hungry tiger pounced on the food, took this card into his bag, and said excitedly, "Holy shit. Holy shit. Holy shit." This is the second golden card he has ever obtained in Chapter 2. It's really not that exciting. Golden cards are virtual and can be integrated into Wanfa-Yuxin. Do you want to integrate them? Melt immediately. Without any hesitation, he made this order in his mind instantly. This wave of happiness is great. As expected, Obito is a treacherous and evil person, and he does justice for heaven, so his character explodes. He beautified himself shamelessly in his heart and returned to his post briskly. But he didn't notice that after he left, a dark thing like ink slowly appeared. Even though there are so many shadow-level experts like them, no one can detect it. Obito is dead. Why are there so many strong people on guard in Konoha? His already dark face turned darker, and then he slowly focused his gaze in the direction of his roots. Subsequently, Black Jew penetrated into the land and headed towards the Kingdom of Rain. Obito is dead, and the only hope left is Nagato, who must ensure that the plan proceeds smoothly. In fact, what happened today was far beyond his expectation. Even the Sannin of Konoha didn't say anything. Why did that child know Obito's information? The first time he failed to open Obito's eyes, Madara managed to barely succeed by using Genjutsu and his assistance. This is the first time Obito has used his divine power in front of outsiders. Why was it exposed? I always feel like this child knows Obito well and has calculated everything from beginning to end. The more he thought about it, the more fearful Heiju became. This child must be taken seriously, and it is best to kill him as soon as possible. But when he thought about the power in his hands now, Heiju felt extremely sad. "Mother, I am so helpless." Looking at the moon pitifully, he almost shed tears. All matters outside were taken care of, but an accident occurred in the room where Kushina gave birth. After hearing the noise, Minato wanted to go out and take a look, but the nine tails in Kushina's body seemed to go crazy and attacked the seal. It doesn't matter, Minato can still suppress it. But the next moment, Kyuubi seemed to have taken a stimulant, and the intensity of the impact more than doubled in an instant. Even though Minato tried his best, the nine tails still broke through the seal within 2 seconds and descended on the ninja world once again. Forcing the injury, the water gate flying thunder flickered continuously, sending away the newly born Naruto, and then the Lake Biwa Piwa Lake. After doing all this, Nine Tails completely appeared on the edge of Konoha. "Ho, I'm finally out. What's the situation?" When the Nine Tails appeared, Chen Tian, Jiraiya and others all felt it. I asked immediately after seeing Minato appear. The people who came to do damage have already been killed by them, so why does something like this still happen? Not only them, even Minato was confused. I don't know, the impact of the nine tails suddenly increased several times, and I can't suppress it. The other people all had blank faces, but Chen Tian felt a gag in his heart. No wonder I was feeling uneasy before. Is something really going to happen? Don't worry about it for now. The most important thing right now is Kyuubi. We must not let him rush into Konoha. Adjusting the situation in time, everyone focused on Juwei. Sarutobi Hiruzen is now in Konoha, so they don't need to worry too much. Sure enough, the moment he saw Kyuubi, Sandai began to mobilize his troops and move all the civilians to the shelter. Chunin and below, including Chunin, are not allowed to approach the battlefield. Only Junin can go to support. And among them, the younger generation like Kakashi and Metkai can only go to civilians. Relying on his many years of experience as a Hokage, the third generation quickly dealt with these matters and led the remaining Jonin to the battlefield. The third generation's eldest son, Sarutobi Shinosuke, and Yuhi Kurenai's father, the former Makoto, and others all followed the third generation. Their relatives have entered the shelter, and now it is time for them to fight for their lives. On the battlefield, after Kyuubi left Kushina, he roared and vented his anger and wanted to completely destroy Konoha. He and Konoha had a deep hatred. Initially, Madara Uchiha of Konoha founded and controlled it with Sharingan, then Senju Hashirama gave him a few vicious slaps and locked him up, and later he was transferred into the body of Uzumaki Kushina. Quote, "It can be said that it was because of Konoha that he lost poetry and distance, it was because of Konoha that he forgot the stars and the sea. At this time, we finally got out of trouble. The two big perverts were also dead. What are we waiting for if we can't destroy Konoha? So I just vented a few words, then walked straight to Konoha with my 10-meter-long legs." Tailed Beast Jade. As if impatient, Kyuubi opened his mouth and took out a tailed beast jade, heading straight for the center of Konoha. "Fight it! Flying Thunder God Transformation." Seeing this, Minato gritted his teeth and moved the tailed beast to the forest outside Konoha. Boom! The explosion sounded, and several kilometers of forest disappeared. The terrifying power was daunting. Seeing that the crisis was temporarily lifted, Jiraiya, Tsunade and Orochimaru rushed forward and cooperated with Minato to resist the nine tails. Although the chakra is almost infinite, except for the tailed beast Tama, Kyuubi can only move the tailed beast Tama once. So under the siege of 4 shadow-level strongmen, he screamed angrily, but he could only retreat steadily, getting further and further away from Konoha. However, he is thick-skinned and does not have super-standard strength like Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara, nor can he kill the nine tails. So, the battle between the two sides looks fierce, but the winner cannot be determined in a short time. Chen Tian had already guessed this situation, so he didn't go up in the first place. Instead, he quietly came to the room where Kushina gave birth. He did not forget the densely packed cards at Kyuubi's feet. In the chaos, no one noticed his actions. Although Minato and the others were confused, they didn't care. So Chen Tian came to the room very smoothly. As soon as he opened the door, he saw dozens or hundreds of cards. These were dropped during the novice protection period and have been maintained until now. System, pick up and fuse them all. Purple card is Chakra plus 1000, fusion is in progress. Purple card is Chakra plus 1000, fusion is in progress. The blue card is Chakra plus 100, merging. The red card is Chakra plus 10,000, merging. Chenshin didn't know how many cards were fused, but apart from the tailed beast Jade, they were all Chakra. If his Chakra was 1 originally, it is at least 100 now. After a large wave of fusions, the power of his tailed beast Jade has been rising steadily, and it can be evenly matched with the 9 tails. Chakra is hard to say, but it will not be worse than Senju Hashirama. After nodding with satisfaction, Chen Tian teleported to the battlefield. "You guys take a rest first and leave the rest to me," said something to Jiraiya, Minato and the others, and Chenshin started his performance. With the light and heavy rock technique in operation, it flew to a position tens of meters above the head of 9 tails, and the fireworks show began. Water release, big explosive water wave. Water escape, 5 food jiao. Thunder escape, earth walk. Earth escape, earth dragon bullet. Fire escape, the great fire is extinguished. Tailed beast Jade. The continuous ninjutsu bombarded Kyuubi's body as if it were free of charge. Minato and the others, who were still a little confused, were stunned. This was the first time they saw Chen Tian going all out. Although I know this guy is very strong, what is this now? Have you released hundreds of ninjutsu in this moment? It doesn't matter if you know so many ninjutsu, what's going on with your chakra? A few people roared crazily in their hearts. Among them, even Tsunade, who had the most chakra, couldn't do it. The only thing that can be done. The face of the first Hokage Senju Hashirama appeared in several people's minds at the same time. He was the only one who could do it. Perhaps because he thought it was not satisfying enough, Chen Tian knocked out several people again. Wood release, wood dragon's technique. Ice escape, ice spirit magic mirror. Sand escape, sand explosive flow. Melting escape, the molten flow fills the sky. Various bloodlines appeared one after another. Minato felt that Chenshin had more blood stains than Konoha combined. Including Minato, Jiraiya and others, the Sandai and others who had arrived recently were all stunned. Looking at the colorful ninjutsu in front of them, everyone's mouths were wide open and their minds went blank. Even the Nine Tails, which had been beaten all the time, was almost the same. At this time, he was a little suspicious of Husheng. What is this? So the hearts of those who saw the fireworks roared in unison. Is there a problem in the world or in themselves? Why is this person completely inconsistent with our worldview? However, Chen Genshin didn't bother to care about their reactions. Although there were Minato and others, he was still hiding everywhere. But after getting the Nine Tails card this time, he was sure that no one could hurt him before Uchiha Madara was resurrected. So, if there is no crisis in the morning decision, then let's indulge. The feeling of this super large turret was so good that Chen Tian felt that he could continue for 3 days and 3 nights. It's a pity that Kyuubi couldn't hold on for that long. It fell down dizzy and completely lost consciousness. In human terms, Ju Wei had been knocked unconscious by Chen Tian. That's it, I'm not satisfied yet. Looking at the fainted Kyuubi, Chen Tian felt very dissatisfied, regardless of how shocking his words were to others. He felt that he still had 9/10 of his chakra, which was not enough. But there was nothing he could do if Kyuubi fainted. He couldn't kill him directly, right? Kushina still wants it to save her life, so she must reseal it as soon as possible. Brother Minato, bring Kushina here quickly. Shouting towards Minato, Chenshin came to the top of Kyuubi's head, raised his fists and smashed them. Who knows whether this thing will be able to pretend to be stunned, Kushina has no ability to fight against it. It was only then that those dumbfounded people reacted, but then they saw Chen Tian's movements. Suddenly everyone's eyelids twitched, and they secretly decided in their hearts that they would not be able to provoke this person even if they died. You continue to beat people when they have fainted. It is simply crazy. Bang, bang, bang. Every time Chenshin punched, their hearts jumped hard. The most serious one is the third generation. He is constantly glad that he has not completely offended Chenshin, otherwise he is afraid that he will end up like Kyuubi. When Kyuubi fell, many people had already left the shelter, so many of Chen Tian's actions were noticed by them. In a short time, everyone knew that Chenshin had saved Konoha. Master Chenshin is still so young, he will definitely be a first-generation adult again in the future. I will be as powerful as Lord Chen Tian in the future and protect Konoha with him. Konoha is finally rising. Whether they are old people or children, everyone speaks like a morning sky, just like Naruto after Nagato attacked Konoha. Chenshin's reputation has reached its peak in Konoha. As long as someone dares to speak ill of Chenshin, he will never survive for a day. Soon, Minato appeared again with Kushina in his arms, and Naruto didn't know where he sent him. At this time, Kushina was very weak, and her previous full of energy no longer existed. The rosy lips began to turn white, and the pretty face was full of exhaustion. Without too much nonsense, he gently let Kushina lie down on her back, and Chenshin pulled Kyuubi over with her bare hands. This move shocked everyone. No one in Konoha except Metkai can do this kind of thing. But Chen Tian has no time to talk nonsense with them, sealing the Nine Tails back again as the first priority. Bagua seal. 2 4-image seals, 1 positive and 1 negative, were superimposed, and a circle of prototype seals appeared on Kushina's abdomen. The huge body of Nine Tails surged into Kushina's body uncontrollably until all was absorbed. Phew, If Kyuubi hadn't really fainted, it might not have been so smooth. Wiping the sweat from his forehead, Chen Tian breathed a sigh of relief. Kushina today really can't be tortured anymore, otherwise the consequences will be disastrous. If you were an ordinary person, you would die the moment the Nine Tails leaves the body, and this will be the case for Gaara in the future. Kushina was able to persist for so long because of her whirlpool physique. After the resealing was completed, everyone including Chenshin stared at Kushina nervously. This kind of thing, resealing a tailed beast after leaving the body, has never been done by anyone since ancient times, and no one knows what the final result will be. Although Chenshin was 80% or 90% sure, he was still very worried before he saw it. But fortunately, he succeeded. His originally white lips became rosy little by little, and the fatigue on his face also began to diminish. Although he has not fully recovered, that is normal. After all, after experiencing such a thing, you need to rest for a while. Seeing Kushina recovering little by little, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. In addition to caring about Kushina and Zuoe, he was also afraid that the old man would suddenly go berserk after Kushina died. At that time, no one will be able to stop him. Thinking like this, they glanced at the morning sky without leaving any trace. Actually, they thought too much. Chenshin's chakra increased greatly and turned into chakra, but his strength evaluation did not increase. Because it only increases the battery life, but does not increase the attack power at all. He is invincible if he continues to fight, but if he faces someone like Minato, there is really no guarantee who will win. After all, Minato is too flexible, so there's nothing he can do if he can't hit him. But fortunately, the Uzumaki clan's physique is amazingly strong, and everything is developing in a good direction. As Minato sent Kushina back to the hospital, this matter officially came to an end. Kyuubi never set foot in Konoha from beginning to end, and Konoha did not suffer any losses. After returning home, Chen Tian was alone. He made a pot of tea and began to think slowly. Minato went to the hospital to accompany Kushina and Naruto. Obito died in my hands without ever entering the barrier from beginning to end, and there was no sign of Kyuubi being controlled. But the Kyuubi still breaks through the seal. Why is this? With Minato strengthening the seal, these things would have been impossible to happen, but it happened to him. Quote. Taking a sip of tea, Chen Tian continued his analysis. Kyuubi's own strength cannot do this, but Brother Minato said that at that time, the impact of Kyuubi suddenly increased several times. Not only did he break through the seal, Brother Minato also suffered some injuries. So, what is all this because of? What exactly can increase the strength of the Nine Tails? Quote. Another cup of tea arrived by the way. As he shook it in his hand, Chenshin's heart sank little by little. In the ninja world, nothing can increase the power of the Nine Tails out of thin air, and it only lasts for an instant. But from another perspective, the Nine Tails was created by the Sage of Six Paths, and the Sage of Six Paths was the only one who could do this. But the Immortal of Six Paths has been dead for a full 1,000 years, how is this possible? Suddenly, Chen Tian's hand tightened, the teacup in his hand shattered with a click, and the tea flowed all over the floor. But he was as dazed as a demon. He didn't react at all and just let the tea flow. The Sage of Six Paths appeared in the finale of the original book and gave Naruto and Sasuke power. In addition, the chakra of his two sons has been passed down and is now in Naruto Sasuke's body. This way, everything makes sense. The Immortal of Six Paths should still be alive. Although he doesn't know what form he is in, there is a high probability that he is in a soul state. He controls everything behind the scenes, monitors the development of everything in the ninja world, and makes changes from time to time. Quote. The more he thought about it, the smoother Chenshin's thoughts became, and more ideas popped up in his mind. Since he is still alive, what is his purpose in doing this? According to the original work, the Six Paths Sage and his younger brother sealed Kagaya together, and his younger brother moved to the moon to accompany his mother. But the Six Paths Sage did not. Instead, he created the ninja sect and ruled the entire ninja world. It can be said that he is an ambitious character who does not care about emotions. It can't be just to help others, it must have its own plan. Quote. Little by little, Chen Tian gradually uncovered a corner of the Millennium Conspiracy. Although he didn't know whether his guess was correct, a sense of urgency arose in his heart. If his guess is true, why would the Immortal of Six Paths do such a thing? He is invincible in the ninja world. What can make the Immortal of Six Paths do this? Must be something that threatens him enough. Chenshin must be prepared in advance. When he came back to his senses, he put away the broken teacup, kept thinking about his speculations, and compared them with his memory. Chen Tian discovered that the image of the Immortal of Six Paths was getting closer and closer to the guesses of those water friends in his previous life. This must be a 1,000-year-old who can hide better than Heiju. Even, Heiju may be in his hand, and he may be plotting this move. After all, the Six Paths monitor the ninja world. Even though Black Zetsu kept a low profile, he was not discovered for 1,000 years. Chen Tian remains skeptical about this. Forget it, I'm not qualified to think about this with my current strength, let's talk about it later. He rubbed his temples, barely suppressing the stinging pain caused by overexertion, packed up and went to sleep. Although he fell asleep, Konoha was extremely lively tonight. Even the appearance of the Nine Tails failed to damage Konoha. Everyone was very happy, and the main character Chen Tian became even more famous. Both ninjas and civilians are talking about him. The only difference is that civilians and children admire him immensely, but ninjas tremble when they mention him. The scene of beating Kyuubi like a child was deeply engraved in their minds and could not be erased no matter what. Even the proud Uchiha clan is convinced by this and dare not continue to go their own way. They all warned their ninjas not to offend this person. Even if they did, don't do it in the name of Uchiha. Chapter 51. People's adaptability is very strong. No matter how big the disaster is, as long as they are not completely extinct, they can always recover quickly. Not to mention that Kyuubi didn't even touch the gate of Konoha and was quickly resealed. So within a few days, this incident had passed, leaving only the reputation of Morning Sky, Jiraiya Minato and others for their barbaric growth. It didn't take long for news about Konoha to spread throughout the ninja world. Because of Konoha's advanced technology, many people were wary of Konoha, but after receiving this news, they immediately changed their minds. Only the stubborn Yunying village still wanted to try hitting the wall to see if he could break through the south wall. Yunying village, in Raikage's office. Lord I, should we change our plan? After all, Konoha is quite powerful. Samyi was holding a pile of documents and looked helplessly at the big hole in the office that I had knocked open not long ago. This is an unknown number of times, and 1/3 of Yunying village's funds have been spent on decoration. I smiled disdainfully, waved his hand and said, no, we will proceed as planned. If we succeed, we will get a blank look. If we fail, we will force them to hand over their technology. They are salivating over Konoha's bloodline boundaries and advanced technology. Although Konoha agreed to trade before, the core technology was inevitably hidden. As for Konoha's strength, stop joking, okay. A mere 7 or 8-year-old child could defeat Kyuubi in a single fight, something Uchiha Madara couldn't even do. Even though I have strong muscles, you can't insult my intelligence like this, you know. I did not believe this information at all. Even if Konoha solved the Night of the Nine Tails, it must have paid a lot of price. And Yunying village has himself and Kurabi, so it's a good opportunity to take advantage of it. Thinking of this, I couldn't help but urge, let the envoys set off immediately, and we will never give Konoha time to recover. Yes, Samyi reluctantly agreed, turned around and left to arrange the personnel. The Kingdom of Rain, which is not far from Konoha, naturally also received news from Konoha. Looking at the photos in their hands, Konan and Nagato were stunned. They are familiar with this person. Isn't he the little guy they took in before? Isn't he an orphan from the Kingdom of Rain? Why did he become a ninja of Konoha and defeat the Kyuubi? No wonder Shao Nan has brought Kakuzu back, but this little guy hasn't come back yet. Thinking of this, the two of them looked at each other and saw a look of shock in each other's eyes. Didn't you say he was an orphan from the Land of Rain? Nagato asked in a tentative tone, and looked at Konan cautiously. There is a high probability that Xiaonan was deceived. Will she get angry? Even though he is a god, he is still afraid of angry women, especially Xiaonan who has 600 billion detonating talismans. How do I know? Xiaonan shouted proudly, and stomped her feet in a self-defeating manner, feeling that her face was being burned by the high temperature. She remembered that Chenshin didn't say anything at all, and that she had just made up her mind. HMPH. The more she thought about it, the angrier Xiaonan became. She snorted harshly at Nagato, turned around, returned to her room, and threw herself on the bed. Hold up his shyness, and at the same time make up his mind to repair Chenshin in the future. She is still a 19-year-old girl. If the plot were still about Xiaonan who was in her 30s, such a thing would not have happened at all. After Xiaonan left, Nagato thought about the affairs of his own organization and considered whether to hunt down Chen Tian to prevent him from leaking the news. But considering that Chen Tian knew nothing and had a good relationship with him, it seemed unnecessary. The top priority is to refine those 6 corpses into puppets and strengthen their own methods as soon as possible. Shaked his head to eliminate all unnecessary thoughts, Nagato carefully took out Yahiko's body. Chenshin naturally doesn't know all this, and even if he knows it, he doesn't care. Anyway, he will definitely not come to the land of rain in a short time. When he comes again, he will definitely be stronger than Nagato. If you can't do that, just bring the Konoha Sannin with you. After knowing the information about Nagato, it's 4 vs 1. You can't lose, right? After a few days of rest, Chenshin has become familiar with the young Naruto. At least he won't cry when he sees him. At the same time, Kushina returned to normal and returned home with Naruto in her arms. Seeing Naruto being thrown on the bed by Kushina like his clothes, Chen Tian secretly prayed for little Naruto, hoping that he could live and grow up smoothly. I always feel that if it falls into the hands of Kushina, who cannot take care of children, it is better to let Naruto grow up like the original. At least that way you can live and grow up without any accidents. But looking at little Naruto, Chen Tian thought that he should live alone. He is now only a few days shy of 8 years old. Although he was brought home by Kushina and Minato, they are not related by blood after all. After Naruto was born, the 3 of them became a family, and it was not appropriate for him to be here. Chenshin understood that Minato and Kushina really regarded him as their younger brothers, and he also regarded Minato and Kushina as relatives. But if it is inappropriate, it is inappropriate. There is no way around it. It's time to live on your own. After finalizing the notice, Chen Tian waited until after Minato got off work in the evening and began to discuss it with the 2 of them. Kushina and Minato disagreed at first, and Kushina bluntly stated that there was nothing inappropriate at all. Looking at Kushina's red hair without wind, Chen Tian's heart trembled a little, but he still argued with reason. After Chen Tian used the strength of netizens in his previous life, he finally reluctantly got Minato and Kushina to agree. Finally, I stayed at home for one night and went out to find my own place the next morning. With his current reputation, he will be surrounded when he appears in front of the crowd, so Konoha is obviously not suitable. But it would be even more inappropriate to stay away from Konoha. I am not a rebellious ninja, and I have to pay attention to the situation in Konoha at all times. After wandering around, he couldn't find the place he liked, so Chenshin could only ask Kakashi and Metkai to have dinner together and ask them if they knew of such a place. After hearing Chenshin's question, Kakashi carefully put away the copy of Intimate Paradise in his hand, scratched his white hair and said, "No." On the contrary, Metkai showed a shining front tooth and said, "I know that on the Hokage Rock, almost no one goes there, and the scenery is very good, and there is a small lake." After stuffing a few mouthfuls of barbecue into his mouth, he continued, "I discovered that when I was exercising. Others won't go there. The place Kai mentioned is above the Hokage Rock. It is much higher than Konoha, and the distance is not close, so few people go there." If Kai hadn't often been running around Konoha, he wouldn't have known about it. Hearing Kai's answer, Chen Tian's eyes suddenly lit up. This is a good place, and it fully meets his requirements. I immediately urged Kakashi and Kai to eat quickly so that they could go there with me to see them. After the 3 of them had eaten, they headed all the way to the place Kai said. Soon, the 3 of them arrived at the top of Huiying Rock. 500 meters further, we're in the middle of the woods. Kai pointed to the woods ahead and glanced at Kakashi in disbelief. Kakashi rolled his eyes, completely ignoring Guy's childish behavior. Now even though Kakashi's father committed suicide and his good friend Obito died in the battle, he thought he was changed by Chen Tian on the night of the 9 tails. He did not lose his master and his wife, and he also gained a friend like Chen Tian. So it did not fall into darkness like the original work. Although some things were forcibly restored to their original state, the butterfly wings in the morning sky caused some waves. The distance of 500 meters was quickly reached at the feet of the three Jonin. The picture that appeared in front of Chen Tian was beyond his expectation and satisfaction. The surroundings are lush and green, surrounded by trees on all sides. In the middle is a flat ground, also covered with flowers and plants. What is rare is that in the center of this open space is a lake that is not very big, which can be said to be picturesque. This is it. With a slap in the face, Chen Tian was determined. The next step is to build a house, which Chenshin, Kakashi, and Kai cannot do. Though earth escape is good, it is not suitable for building a house. After all, it is just soil, not bricks and cement. Not only is it unsightly, it also poses a safety hazard. Who knows that one day you will collapse while sleeping? You can't just make a power bank yourself in Chenshin and input chakra into the house from time to time. But this matter is not difficult. When Orochimaru joined the Chenshin team, he also provided information about a child. That child is Tenzo, or he can also be called Yamato. After knowing that this child had a wooden escape, Minato and Sandai brought him here and could use him at any time. Do you think Chenshin will call Yamato? Of course not. It's just a wood escape, Chenshin doesn't know it, and it's no different from the first generation. Wooden escape, the art of villa construction. After constructing the model in his mind, Chen Tian started to do it without hesitation. The logs grow on the ground, and a luxurious villa is formed in 30 seconds. Kakashi and Kai on the side were stunned, stammering and unable to speak. They all know that there are many boundaries in Chenshin, but they were not on the battlefield at the time. The rumors were not as shocking as seeing them with their own eyes. After a while, the three of them had almost completed the construction here, and the next step was to install the glass and other trivial matters. Kai volunteered to go to the village to move things, saying it would help with exercise. Under the declaration that this is youth, Kakashi and Chenshin instantly agreed. In less than 2 hours, everything in the villa was installed, and Chen Tian's move came to an end. After calling the Konoha Sannin and Minato Kushina, as well as Kakashi and Guy who helped him to have dinner at night, this matter came to an end completely. While they were gathering, they didn't know that Konoha's traitor Rinbei Liuhu, who was far away in the land of grass, was paying attention to this morning. After several years of hard work, his forbidden art Kiaro no Jutsu has been successfully developed, just when the blood inheritance boundary is needed. Originally, he was still making plans for other people, but at this moment, he heard the news from Chen Tian. He had the same idea as the fourth Raikage regarding Chenshin's strength, but he believed in the blood inheritance boundary. Exaggerating Chenshin's strength can intimidate other ninja villages, but exaggerating the boundaries of blood succession is totally unnecessary. Very good, it's God who helped me. He sent such a person to me after I developed the Onagora technique. Although he has not yet obtained Chenshin, Biliuhu has already regarded him as his own. In order to improve his strength as quickly as possible, Biliuhu took some random things and came to Konoha. Although it is a bit dangerous to do this, Chen Tian can't just send him to his door stupidly, so he can only find a way to hijack him. I spent the whole night without talking. After waking up the next day, I ate something and headed towards Jiraiya's house in the morning. With Konoha flourishing, Jiraiya has settled down and no longer travels. First, Konoha is developing and needs manpower. Second, Tsunade is in Konoha. If he wants to see Tsunade, he must stay in Konoha. Third, Konoha has developed to this day and has become the most prosperous place in the land of fire and even the ninja world. There are the most beauties here and the bathhouses are the most luxurious. Well, the second and third points are the most important, but anyway, as long as he didn't leave. Bang! Chen Tian shouted as he pushed open the door of Jiraiya's house, "Are you ready? Can you go to Mt. Miamu now?" As early as last night, Chenshin had already discussed this matter with Jiraiya. But Jiraiya had to obtain the consent of the toads, so it was delayed until today. "Why did you get up so early?" Jiraiya, who was wearing pajamas and a sleepy face, walked out and said, "The great toad sage agreed, please wait while I change clothes." Less than 3 minutes later, Toad Sage Jiraiya appeared again and took Chenshin to Miamu Mountain without saying a word. When he opened his eyes, Chenshin saw the environment of Miamu Mountain, which was completely the same as in the original work. Little Jiraiya, is this guy coming to MT? Miamu, the great toad immortal wants to see you. Suddenly, an old male voice came from Chenshin's feet. When he lowered his head, he saw that it was Fukasaku and Shima, two immortals. After saying hello to the two immortals, Chenshin went with them to see the big toad immortal. The original purpose of his coming was to see the great toad immortal, so what could he refuse? Here you are, the boy who changed the ninja world. The great toad immortal narrowed his eyes, as if he had not woken up. I wonder why you want to see me. Chen Tian tilted his head curiously. He knew from Jiraiya that his portraits had been circulated in the three holy places, and they were looking for him. You are a variable in the ninja world. Because of your appearance, I have lost the ability to predict the future, so I want to sign a contract with you. Yes, no problem at all. Chen Tian agreed on the spot. He understood what the great toad immortal meant. He can change the ninja world and make it impossible for the great toad sage to predict the future. In order to prevent Miamu Mountain from being invaded, it is obviously appropriate to let the toad of Miamu Mountain become his own psychic beast. In this way, they are bound to themselves, and they will never harm their own psychic beasts. The great toad immortal nodded with satisfaction. It's better to talk to smart people and don't explain so much. Jiraiya on the side had already dislocated his jaw. How could the great toad sage be unable to predict the future because of the morning sky? Why does he not believe this so much? After struggling to install his chin, Jiraiya stuttered and asked, Big Toad Sage, do I still want to look for the child of destiny? Who are you? That's little Jiraiya. Little Jiraiya. Seeing the big toad being confused again, Shima Immortal couldn't help it. The little toad's loud voice was completely out of proportion. Oh, little Jiraiya, I understand. After answering Shima Sage, the great toad sage said to Jiraiya, when variables appear, the future of the ninja world will be controlled by variables. Jiraiya looked at the morning sky thoughtfully and stopped talking. He understood what the great toad immortal meant, and the future all depended on Chen Tian's thoughts. So even if the child of destiny comes out, it will be of no use. But this way, Jiraiya relaxed. Because he knows Chenshin so well, he will definitely develop for the better in the future. Okay, you two take little Jiraiya out first, we still have some things to talk about. After Jiraiya and the two immortals left, the great toad immortal asked, why did you come here specifically to ask? I want to know everything about the immortal of six paths. Chen Tian threw out his question straightforwardly. As for whether the great toad immortal and the six paths immortal are in the same group. Maybe it was once, but it is definitely not now. Chen Tian is confident in his judgment. What the two of them talked about next, no one knows except the two of them. Even if Lai Lai asked later, Chenshin just smiled and shook his head without saying anything. After being forced to eat a meal of immortal insects, Chenshin and Jiraiya were able to return. After returning to Konoha, Chen Tian also had his own psychic beast, although it was of no use. Not long after they returned, news of Watergate came over, and Union Village sent people to discuss post-war compensation. Konoha doesn't like these things now, but we don't want to give them up for free, so we still need to discuss them. After hearing the news, Chen Tian suddenly narrowed his eyes. He thought that after the news of the nine-tailed knight spread, Union Village would not engage in such a trick. Unexpectedly, I was so hard-headed and was thinking of attacking Hinata, and the time was advanced a lot. In the end, this matter was left to Minato and Sandai, and no one else was interested. Shortly after their deliberations ended, a cannon fodder group of 3 Junin and 6 Chunin sent by Cloud Shadow Village came to Konoha. It's exactly what the news said, it's really prosperous. Yes, but it won't be long before all this belongs to us in Union Village. Shut up, do you want to die? Hearing the conversation among his subordinates, the leading Junin immediately shouted angrily, wishing to kill the Chunin directly. Having just arrived in Konoha, the plan has not even started yet. If this idiot is exposed, he will be so angry that he will die here. It was my fault. The Chunin also realized his mistake, and his body suddenly began to tremble, and he apologized again and again. After a while, Kakashi appeared in front of these people, arranged a place for them to stay, and then evacuated. Of course, even though Kakashi left, there are still many Anbu monitoring here secretly. But these people didn't seem to notice it. They left their place of residence in groups of 3 and 2 and wandered around Konoha. Although Anbu found it strange, he didn't take it to heart. Konoha now deserves this kind of treatment, and it is normal for them to want to see it. Only Chenshin knows what they are doing, they are clearly setting foot here. But don't worry, wait until they take action and then kill them to maximize your benefits. Konoha is no longer a shadowy figure now, and Naruto is Minato who will never compromise, so he can definitely have a chance with the opponent. When the time comes, I will take the Konoha Sannin to visit Union village. I wonder how many cards I can pick up. Sandai deliberately showed off these people, and 3 days passed in the blink of an eye, and his goal was achieved. Today is the day of the first negotiation, and Chen Tiansai is too lazy to join in the fun. It's nothing more than those nonsense matters, and it is most appropriate to leave them to the cunning third generation. After a back and forth war of words, the two sides broke up and ended the negotiation. And set the next negotiation for 3 days. No one took this seriously. This is normal during negotiations. Only Chenshin sneaked into the backyard of Hinata's house alone after learning the news. If he remembered correctly, it was tonight in the original novel that these people kidnapped Hinata and were then shot to death by Hinata. It was already evening when morning came, so it soon became night. After casting a sealing technique to completely hide himself, he was ready to watch the show. At the place where the Union village envoys lived, although it was getting late, everyone was gathered together. Today is the time, Konoha has relaxed. Nina, we will not let down your efforts. Leave your wife and daughter to my care. Don't worry. A wretched and ugly middle-aged man patted the shoulder of a Junin named Nona. After a while, a shadow clone appeared on the spot, and everyone returned to their rooms to rest. But Nona had left there secretly and came to the backyard of Hinata's house. They have been visiting locations these days and have found the most suitable location. With a slight jump, Nona entered Hinata's house and instantly appeared in Chen Tian's sight. It's just that because of the sealing technique, he didn't discover Chenshin. Just like that, Chen Tian watched helplessly as Noka entered Hinata's room and carried her out. Shaked his head immediately, that's it. The Hyuga family didn't notice such a low-tech thing. Byakugan can be said to be the strongest perception ninjutsu, and it can even see through. In addition, the Hinata family is Byakugan's home, since no one found out that their princess was stolen. What is the difference between a Jonin's chakra and a 200-watt light bulb in front of Byakugan? Are you blind? However, Chen Tian, who knew the outcome, did not take action and still watched the show calmly. Taking action now will not make the Hyuga family grateful, and they may be beaten down. Never overestimate human nature, especially the human nature of such superior people. Moreover, only when you save the other person when he is desperate, he will be grateful to you. Compared to a Junin card, helping Hinata deal with this matter is a great kindness. Who is it? Dai. Seeing that this Jonin was about to leave Hinata's house, Chenshin almost couldn't help but take action. But fortunately at the last moment, Hinata discovered that Hinata had been stolen. In anger, he jumped out and slapped the Junin to death. The next moment, a group of people from the Hyuga family appeared on the scene, making Chenshin's eyes wide open. You didn't notice it before, so how did you get here so quickly now? After he left, Chenshin also sneaked away. He is here just as an insurance, and the real performance comes next. After killing the invading Jonin, Hyuga Hazatsu immediately determined the identity of this person and immediately sent someone to report it to the 4th Hokage Namikaze Minato. The first person to receive the news was Hiruzen Sarutobi. After receiving the news, he did not dare to neglect and sent people to inform Minato. He took dozens of Anbu and immediately surrounded the Union village envoys. Seeing that something was wrong, the people from the envoys knew that the plan was going well, so they immediately took a bite. Your Excellency, the 3rd Hokage, the Hyuga clan killed our people in Cloud Shadow Village. Do you want to start a war? Ahem, I heard that the Junin wanted to kidnap the princess of the Hyuga family. 3 generations are not in a hurry. What they say is that the donkey head is not right and the horse's mouth is not right. But he is not in a hurry, Hinata is anxious. He killed the person, and the other party refused to admit it. If Konoha did not want to start a war, the result could be imagined. A bunch of people were coming and going, spitting freely, but it had no effect. The Cloud Shadow Messenger group insisted that it was Nizu who killed the people. If Konoha didn't give an explanation, then a war would have to begin. Just when the stalemate reached a stalemate, Minato finally rushed over. He already knew the whole story on the way. Since it was the other party's fault, let's start a war. Konoha is not afraid at all. Hey, it's quite lively. Seeing that the situation was almost over, Chen Tian jumped out and said, if you want to start a war, then let's start a war. Then he turned to Minato and Sandai and said, Brother Minato, Sandai, let's make preparations for the war quickly. Chen Tian's words immediately frightened the Yunying envoy group. The negotiation hadn't even been completed yet, so they started a war like this. Hokage Dono, please think carefully before making a decision. A war between two villages is not a child's joke. As they spoke, they glanced at Chenshin, and the meaning was self-evident. Now Chen Tian is happy, isn't this what he wants? With a sound of shua, Chenshin appeared behind the Cloud Shadow envoy group, and the ninja who left him had his body separated and was lying on the ground. So everyone stared at him blankly. No one, including Minato and others, thought that Chen Tian would actually take action. And it was a sure kill as soon as it was launched, and Lei Qi was used. By the time the envoys came to their senses and wanted to resist, the Anbu of Konoha all took out their shurikens, and Minato and the third were also ready. Suddenly, they did not dare to move any further. This is Konoha, people like them can't even make a splash, so it's better to be nice. But he couldn't recognize it. Okay, since Konoha's attitude is this, let's leave now, and you can wait to face our Yunying army. With a few words, these people were angrily preparing to leave Konoha and go back to fight with the army. Konoha is looking down on them, looking down on Cloud Shadow Village. They must learn a lesson. Anbu looked at Minato, waiting for him to make a decision. But Chen Tian had already appeared in front of these people and stopped them. Did I let you go? As he spoke, the thunder in his hand lit up again. Looking at Chen Tian's actions, the faces of all the envoys became even more ugly, almost as black as the bottom of a pot. But they couldn't take action, there were too many people around watching, and they would definitely die if they did. He could only hold back his anger, his breathing became much heavier, and he shouted angrily, why, do you Konoha still want to kill us messengers? Even in the ninja world, there is a rule that when two armies are fighting, the envoy will not be killed. But is Chen Tian someone who will abide by these rules? Ever since he first came to the ninja world, he has used this kind of conspiracy to kill enemies. He is of death who uses all means to kill except his own people. Under the leadership of Chen Tian, Konoha and Anbu took action together and all these people. Then he went to the Hokage's office with Minato, Sandai and others. He did it, and he must give these people an explanation. Minato knocked on the table and asked, tell me what you think. Haha, what's there to think about? If they dare to come to Konoha and act wild, they will have to pay the price. After a pause, he said, anyway, with our current strength, we can't live up to Yunying village. Counting on his fingers, Konoha has 7 shadow-level powerhouses including the Konoha Sannin, Minato Kushina, Sarutobi Hiruzen and Asahi himself. And what about Yunying village? There are only 2, the 4th Raikage and the 8-tailed Jinchuriki, Rabbi. The 2nd-tailed Jinchuriki is still a little girl now, and he is a Junin if he does more. Let alone those below the cage level, Konoha's current economic development has enough resources to train ninjas. After being freed from the daimyo's economic sanctions, to put it bluntly, the number of ninjas in Konoha is definitely more than 30,000, or even close to 40,000. What about Yunying village? I'd be thankful to have 20,000, and it would probably only be more than 10,000. With this comparison of strength, Chen Tian really didn't know why Konoha had to tolerate it. With overwhelming strength, do you still want to let your own people die to avoid war? Listening to Chen Tian's analysis one by one, Hinata and Rizu were really happy. If it wasn't for the wrong occasion, she would definitely have a drink with Chen Tian. The first one to express his position at the moment, if there is a war, my Hyuga family will join us as a whole and we will definitely be on the front line. Fear is fear, but anger is also real anger. Who gave you the courage to kidnap my little cotton-padded jacket? Uchiha Fugaku next to Hazashi closed his eyes and rested, as if he didn't hear anything. The others had thoughtful expressions, with no hint of happiness or anger. It is worth mentioning that as early as when Danzo was dismissed, the other two Hokage advisors were dismissed together, so they did not come out to make any noise. After a while, the third generation said, "We in Konoha are naturally not afraid of Union Village, but have you ever thought about other villages? What if they are behind?" Although his expression is gentle, Sandai's voice is a bit stern. Chenshin is a genius, he is already better than himself at such a young age, but he is still a child after all. Sighing secretly in his heart, Sandai decided to wipe Chen Tian's by himself and let him remember this lesson well. The future is still ours, no one can take it away. But Chenshin smiled slightly and said, "This kind of thing is so simple, it's just that you are confused by past experiences." Without waiting for anyone to ask questions, he continued, "Me, Brother Minato, Jiraiya, Orochimaru, the Hazu clan chief, and the Fugaku clan chief went together and broke into the Cloud Shadow village directly." Licking the corner of his mouth, Chen Tian continued, "We have 5 cage levels, plus the Rizu clan leader and an elite Jonin, we can completely wreak havoc on Cloud Shadow village. And with Brother Minato here, they can't keep us." As Chen Tian narrated, everyone's eyes lit up. "Yeah, who said war requires more people? Isn't it okay for a few of us elites to beat up your entire village?" In the past, they did not have such strength, and they were afraid that shadow-level experts would be overwhelmed by human sea tactics. Just like the third Raikage of Cloud Shadow Village, wasn't it just that he was surrounded and beaten to death? But with Minato here, who can surround them? But Uchiha Fugaku stared at Chen Tian in horror. 5 shadow levels included him. How did he know? Others didn't pay attention, but Fugaku heard it clearly. As if aware of his gaze, Chenshin turned his head and showed a bright smile, and then stopped paying attention to him. Actually, Chen Tian didn't want to take Hinata and Hinashi with him. He was the only one who was not at the shadow level, so he was holding him back. But his daughter was kidnapped, and it was inappropriate not to let him go, so he had to be included reluctantly. His inspiration came from the original work, where Nagato destroyed Konoha's war by himself. "We are not as strong as you, but 6 of us can always compare to your 6 puppets, right?" At that time, Konoha's strength was stronger than that of Union Village now. If you calculate it this way, you can definitely win, right? "Yes, I agree. And I." For a time, almost everyone except Uchiha Fugaku agreed. Konoha is so powerful that it can shock other villages and make them pay attention. Chen Tian looked at Uchiha Fugaku, who didn't speak, and asked, "What about you, Chief Fugaku?" Looking deeply at Chen Tian, Fugaku nodded and agreed. After a night's rest, Chenshin, Minato and the other 6 people were ready to leave. "It is estimated that it will take 3 to 5 days to leave this time, so I left after explaining to Sandai, Kushina, and Tsunade. Uchiha Fugaku and Hyuga Hazatsu, the weakest on the surface, are both elite Junin, so the speed of the group is naturally very fast. It's just that Nizu really only has elite Junin, and Fugaku has already turned on the kaleidoscope, but he just didn't show it. Chenshin brought him this time to force him to use the kaleidoscope and let him understand his own strength. After he knew that the kaleidoscope was only at the shadow level, he would naturally not have any more rebellious dreams. There are 7 or 8 people in Konoha who are not weaker than him. After losing hope, giving up is inevitable. At that time, they will talk to Fugaku and find a way to integrate the Uchiha clan into Konoha, and this matter will be completely resolved. Sometimes Chen Tian also thinks that if it were not for the existence of Minato and Kushina, he might have become a rebel ninja and joined the Akatsuki organization. But because of these 2 people's meticulous care for him, Chen Tian was determined to make Minato the greatest Hokage. From leaving Orochimaru behind, retrieving Jiraiya and Tsunade, to confronting Cloud Shadow Village and preventing the Uchiha clan from rebelling, these are all for this purpose. It only took 1 day for Chen Tian and others to enter the Kingdom of Thunder. With their strength, they will naturally not be discovered by ordinary ninjas. At night, Chen Tian used his wooden escape, the luxury villa technique, which simply shocked everyone. "We know that you have wood escape, but who would have thought that you can still play like this when you are on a mission?" After waiting for Chen Tian to take out a piece of delicious food from the portable space, they looked at the Bingliang pills in their hands and suddenly they no longer smelled good. There was no talking all night, and early the next morning, they continued to set off. But this time the speed is a bit slow, and he has to avoid the ninjas in Yunying village. The closer they are to Yunying village, the slower their speed will be. On the third day, they officially arrived near Yunying village. What should we do now? Why don't we go in directly? Minato said hesitantly. Although he was already the Hokage, Minato was Minato, so he was still a little hesitant about this sneak attack. Chen Tian smiled helplessly and said, "You decide for yourself. We are invincible anyway, so you can talk to Reikage first." He has this confidence because of the Nine Tails card and the current morning chakra is amazing. It may be a bit difficult to fight in a one-on-one fight, but if it's a matter of picking up miscellaneous fish, he thinks he can fight 10,000 of them. And the chakra hasn't been used up yet. So it doesn't matter whether Yunying village is prepared or not, they can't defeat us anyway. 5 film grades and 1 quasi-film grade, do you think I'm kidding you? Okay, then let's have an honest visit. Minato nodded, a sunny smile appearing on his face again. The other people naturally had no objection, after all, Minato was the Hokage. I don't know how the bathhouse in Yunying village is like. I haven't been there yet. Jiraiya pushed Orochimaru and said with a playful smile. He gave Jiraiya a helpless look. Orochimaru was completely too lazy to pay attention to this guy. Is now the time to think about peeping. There's going to be a battle soon. After making up their minds, the few people walked towards the gate of Yunying village openly. The first time the ninjas from Yunying village saw Chen Tian and others, they immediately surrounded them. I am the 4th Hokage, coming to see you Reikage. Wait a moment, I'll go and inform the Reikage right away. Hearing Minato's words, these people suddenly became more polite, but there were even more people surrounding them. Within a few minutes, Lei Ying arrived here quickly. Seeing his speed, Chen Tian's eyes narrowed severely. At this speed, he was not sure he could react, and he might be taken away by someone else. Morning Sky Chakra is huge, just like there are enough blue bars in the game, but it doesn't mean combat power. The Reikage doesn't have as many blue bars as him, just like an assassin, his explosive power is not weak. In a protracted war, the Morning Sky will surely win, in a sudden war, this is not necessarily the case. Jiraiya and others no longer looked as relaxed as before. No one expected that I would make such great progress. In the 3 previous battles, he was not as strong as he is now. The ninjas from Yunying village stood behind I and Kurabi, forming a confrontation with the 6 people from Chenshin. Hokage, you came to Yunying village secretly, do you want to start a war? The angry Reikage, the offline shadow. Minato had known Ai's temper for a long time, so he wasn't angry, but his tone was much harsher. Your envoy team kidnapped our Hyuga family princess, let's demand an explanation. In an instant, I knew that something was wrong, but he did not expect Konoha to react like this. When the 9-tailed Jinchuriki Uzumaki Kushina was kidnapped before, Konoha didn't just obediently pay compensation and didn't dare to really start a war. I didn't expect it, but I couldn't give in. At this moment, the lightning flashed on Ai's hand, and the crackling was extremely dazzling. Putting blame on others, if you want to fight, then fight. It is impossible to admit it. Although this has happened more than once, it cannot be admitted. Fire escape. The great fire is extinguished. Seeing that Minato still wanted to continue BB, Chen Tian directly interrupted physically. This Reikage is a stubborn ass. In the original novel, Naruto didn't even kneel down to agree to his request. You still want to argue with him? Isn't this a joke? Boom. In an instant, a battle broke out at the entrance of Yunying village. Countless ninjas kept coming. Minato, Jiraiya and others saw this and took action one after another. Konoha is coming to attack. Destroy them. Kill them. Charge. The 6 of them were able to deal with these ninjas with ease for the time being. But seeing Ai's actions, Chen Tian immediately lost his composure and shouted quickly, Brother Minato, I'll leave I to you. After saying that, Chen Tian used a teleportation technique to change direction and continued to kill the soldiers. If you don't pick up so many cards, but instead go to confront I head-on, what is this but a fool? Chen Tian would not do such a thing. Hell thrust, 4 pen hands. Ai's killer move was his first move, but unfortunately Chen Tian had already escaped. What he faced was Minato's Rasengan shot from behind the Thunder God. With no choice but to dodge quickly, he got entangled with Minato. Chen Tian, who was avoiding Ai, exclaimed, but he accidentally bumped into Kurabi. Hachi Ryu, one sword with 9 sections. 8 grid tooth path. The strange rap tone, but the shot is not ambiguous at all. I want the morning life when I meet. Tu-un, Tulu City Wall. In an instant, a wall as tall as the Great Wall stood in front of Chen Tian, blocking Kurabi's move. But in less than a second, the walls of Tulu City began to collapse. Kurabi, on the other hand, entered the half-tailed beast form. As the first complete Jinchuriki, he can transform into a tailed beast and still retain consciousness. While dodging, Chen Tian saw Uchiha Fugaku who was not far away from him. He rolled his eyes and rushed over instantly. I have wanted Fugaku to know his strength before. Isn't Kurabi the best candidate? After awakening the kaleidoscope, Fugaku has never used it. Facing Kurabi for the first time should teach him how to behave. With a full level of teleportation technique, huge chakra, and strong physical strength, Chenshin's speed cannot be caught up even by Kurabi. Fleeting in front of Fugaku, Chen Tian shouted, Chief Fugaku, I will leave this person to you. Earth Escape, Earth Dragon Bullet. The kind-hearted Chenshin also specially released a 10-meter-long Earth Dragon to help Kurabi slow down and face Fugaku. Seeing the two of them fighting together, Chen Tian looked for the other people's battlefield. Of course I didn't know when I met the 2 Jinchuriki teak men. While fending off the others, I played hide-and-seek with the little girl. That white hair can not only resist ninjutsu and shuriken, but can also kill enemies continuously. Not far from Jiraiya, his good friend Orochimaru was not to be outdone and directly summoned 10,000 snakes. As a powerful psychic beast in the Dragon Cave among the 3 holy places, one snake's temper is not very good. Orochimaru, summon me to ask for 100 people to be sacrifices. You can eat as much as you can from what is in front of you. Very rare. -1 is extremely horizontal, with a big hand wave, without bargaining, or even actively increase the price. Orochimaru is different from Jiraiya. He is a real killer, and the number of people who died in his hands is at least 3 times that of Jiraiya. But Wan Shi is more pitiful. There are more than 10,000 and 20,000 ninjas in Yunying village here, so he has no qualifications to wreak havoc. The moment he rushed out to feast, he didn't know how many ninjutsu fell on him. Not even a scream, he was seriously injured and turned into a white mist and returned to Longdi Cave. The corners of Chen's mouth twitched when he saw this scene. He didn't expect Orochimaru to have such a bad taste. Can he not know what will happen when 10,000 snakes appear? He knows. He did it on purpose. In addition to these people who killed everyone, only Hinata and Hinata were left as a poor child. He is an elite Junin, but there are also many elite Junin in Yunying village. He is determined to kill the thief but has no way to save his life, so he can only huddle near Orochimaru and ask for shelter. After scanning the battlefield and making sure that everyone was fine, Chen Tian headed towards the place with the most people. It is impossible to fly, it is a target, and you will definitely be beaten into a fool. Water Escape, the technique of the Great Waterfall. Thunder Escape, Earth Walk. Fire Escape, the Great Fire is extinguished. Wind Escape, Vacuum Lianyu. Morning Sky directly transformed into a ninjutsu turret, and a series of large-scale damaging ninjutsu continued continuously. No one could enter the area 10 meters around him. The blue card is Thunder Escape, Pseudo-Darkness. Is it integrated? The red card is Thunder Escape, Thunder Armor. Is it integrated? The purple card is Thunder Escape, Black Spot Cha. Is it integrated? The red card is Thunder Escape, Thunder Explosion. Is it integrated? Looking at the cards one by one, Chen Tian couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth, revealing a small dimple. This cute face, in the eyes of the ninjas in Yunying village, is like a demon, making people feel cold all over. It's just that these ninjutsu cannot be fused yet, and can only be done after the battle is over, but it will not affect Chen Tian's happiness. At the same time, he has been secretly paying attention to Uchiha Fugaku. As expected, facing Kurabi, it didn't take long for him to be unable to hide himself. The 3 magatama in his eyes rotated crazily and then connected. Fugaku wisely did not use genjutsu when he knew clearly whether his opponent was a Jinchuriki or a Eight-Tails Jinchuriki. Amaterasu. Eternal Flame Amaterasu, an ability born after turning on the kaleidoscope. As long as it comes into contact with the target, it will not stop until it is burned out. Fugaku had great confidence in this move, but the next moment, he flew out and spit out a mouthful of blood. I saw Kurabi directly abandoning the piece of burned chakra and put his foot in Fugaku's chest. After transforming into a half-tailed beast, Kurabi is surrounded by chakra belonging to the 8 tails, and he can discard these chakras at any time. Ahem, ahem, Susanoo. Putting his right hand on his chest, Fugaku exploded in anger, and a skeleton with only the upper body suddenly appeared. The ultimate move of Mangekyo, Susanoo. Although Fugaku can only use the first stage, there should be no problem in surviving in the hands of Kurabi. In addition to Morning Sky, Jiraiya, Orochimaru, Minato and others also saw it. After achieving his goal, Chen Tian was too lazy to pay attention to him and seriously played his cards. This battle lasted for about half an hour and ended with the death of more than 1,000 ninjas in Yunying village. During the Third Ninja War, they only lost 4,000 to 5,000 ninjas, but now more than 1,000 ninjas died, which can be said to be a huge loss. After discovering that he could not defeat Minato, Kurabi could not defeat that Uchiha. After seeing Jiraiya, Orochimaru and Asuka killing like crazy, he could only hold back his anger and call a halt to the war. After it was over, Chen Tian and others showed no expression, but the ninjas from Yunying village glared at them, wishing they could eat them alive. Especially Chenshin and Orochimaru. Out of more than 1,000 people, the two of them killed 1,000. Tell me, what compensation do you want? I is irritable, but he is not brainless, otherwise he would not be able to become the Raikage. Although he was angry in his heart and wanted to fight to the death with the other party, he could only endure it when he saw the Yunying village behind him. He saw the strength of these people. Except for Hinata, everyone was a shadow-level powerhouse. If you really use your life, it is possible to kill these people, but Yunying village will definitely be crippled. Moreover, Minato also has the Flying Thunder God. If the situation is not right, he can retreat, but he may not be able to stay. One price, 1 billion taels. This is what they had discussed before, and is almost the same as Yunying village's one-year funding. Konoha naturally does not lack this kind of money, but this is not the first time that Yunying village has done this kind of thing, and they must be taught a lesson. Although I looked ugly, he nodded and agreed without hesitation. He knew better than anyone else that they had no right to bargain. Either pay your money or give up your life. After reaching a consensus, Minato and others were ready to leave. 1 billion is not much for Konoha, but for other villages it is life-threatening. It will definitely not be available for a while, and they will take the initiative to deliver it to your door in the future. Unless they have the strength to fight against Konoha, this is basically impossible. I hope you can live and grow up. Before leaving, I stared at the morning sky with blood-red eyes and said fiercely. It was this child who killed most of the Cloud Shadow ninjas who died in battle. Chen turned around with a cute smile and said, I'd like to lend you some good advice. Then, they stared at tens of thousands of murderous eyes and left Yunying village calmly. In this world where force is paramount, if you have the strength, you can do whatever you want, and no one dares to resist you. But if you don't have the strength, you will be like Yunying village, being stepped on from time to time. While feeling emotional, Chen Tian secretly made up his mind that he would never let this happen. His desire to become stronger is even stronger, not for anything else but to control his own destiny, especially when that person is still there. Morning Sky had actually predicted this swift action. The fight with each other is actually when the gap between the two sides is not big. But when someone can control your life and death, you have to give him whatever he wants, and you have no right to bargain. If they didn't have the fighting power to overwhelm them, Yunying village would definitely not be able to be so decisive. After Chen Tian and others left, their deeds spread quietly throughout the ninja world, and almost everyone knew about it. Yunying village and Sand Shadow village suddenly became nervous. Their strength was about the same as that of Cloud Shadow village. If they provoked Konoha, it would be dangerous. So they all ordered to go down and try not to provoke the ninjas of Konoha and build a good relationship with Konoha. The only thing that made them relieved was that the Konoha ninjas did not accept tasks from other countries. They were busy helping their own farmers with watering, plowing, weeding, etc. every day and would not take their tasks. This also resulted in the ninjas on both sides rarely coming into contact, and the chance of accidents was greatly reduced. But it also made them feel sour because Konoha had already moved away from the stage of relying on tasks to make money, and its focus was entirely on business. Hands of money are pouring in like rain every day, and even ninjas have begun to receive their wages. From now on, even the civilians of the Fire Country will look like I am a great person when they go out. We, the people of the Fire Nation, have nothing to worry about food and drink, and our ninjas are all civil servants. We can hire ninjas to help farm the land, and the price is very low. After knowing this news, civilians from other countries couldn't bear it anymore, so they all headed to Konoha with their families. Had the various countries not discovered it early and blocked the route in time, they would probably have only the bear commanders left. Even so, the population of the Fire Country has more than doubled. The daimyo of other countries were very unhappy and put pressure on the daimyo of the Land of Fire, hoping that he would return these civilians. After seeing these daimyo, the daimyo from the Fire Country burst into tears, which was so miserable. It's true that he is a famous name from the Land of Fire, but no one recognizes him at all. Even the armed forces in Konoha's hands are now completely separated from him. Once, he could manipulate Konoha at will due to funding issues. If he wanted them to go east, they would not dare to go west. But now, Konoha's financial income is dozens or hundreds of times his, and they don't bother to talk to him anymore. But he didn't dare to say anything, for fear that someone would do something to him and make the country of fire no longer have such a daimyo. In the current Fire Country, in the hearts of civilians and businessmen, the daimyo is a mascot, and the true ability depends on Konoha. Hearing what he said was so miserable, the famous names from several other countries could not continue to put pressure on him, but instead comforted him. But no one noticed that a flash of light flashed in his tearful eyes. Konoha no longer listens to me, but they still protect the Fire Country, and they respect me. With their help, the population of the Fire Country has skyrocketed, every household has a surplus of food, and my taxes have increased several times. Although it is not as much as Konoha's, it is much better than before, and it is no problem to spend whatever you want. And you can go to Konoha from time to time. Isn't it better than you fools still want to return to civilian life? I want to eat shit. Quote. That's right, the great names of the Land of Fire are just acting, and those before were all fake. He knows Konoha well and is related to Tsunade. There is no way that Konoha will attack him, otherwise there would be no great name in the Fire Country. Others don't dare to do this, but Chen Tian definitely dares to do it, and he still wants it. It is because of these relationships that he has been steadily working on Daoyutai without any fear. Wouldn't it be nice for him to just lie down and collect money? But there is one ninja village that is different from other villages, and that is Kurikage village. After the death of Uchiha Obito, it may be some people operating secretly, or it may be the self-correction of the world. An orphan from the Uchiha family disappeared without knowing it, and appeared in front of Black Zetsu for some reason. Looking at the Uchiha falling from the sky, Black Zetsu was instantly surrounded by huge surprises. Later, under his series of operations, the boy named Uchiha Nobu opened the kaleidoscope, hating the world in his heart and vowing to make the Eye of the Moon project develop smoothly. Coincidentally, this boy named Nobu's kaleidoscope is exactly the same as the previous Uchiha Obito. The only difference is that he has both kaleidoscopes, which are much stronger than Obito. After that, he inherited Obito's will and continued to control the fourth-generation Mizukage Yagura to carry out the cruel blood mist. Heiju was suspicious of such a coincidence for a long time, but found nothing. Although I finally used this young man named Shin, I never really trusted him. Even so, he was so busy that he even forgot about Nagato and Konan from the Land of Rain. These things all happened quietly, no one got any news, and even Uchiha didn't know that there were fewer people in their family. If Chen Tian knew, he would quickly guess what was going on, but it was a pity that he didn't know. On their way back to Konoha with Minato, Jiraiya and others, Morning Sky had a frank talk with Uchiha Fugaku. Because the relationship between Fugaku and Minato is not bad, and Minato has always advocated treating Uchiha well. Coupled with the fact that he recognized his own strength and the strength of the Uchiha clan, Fugaku believed in Minato and told everything. The Uchiha clan is being excluded more and more, and the elders in the family are preparing to resist. This is probably what happened. Fugaku did not omit anything, and explained everything clearly and honestly, which made Chen Tian sigh with emotion. In fact, Fugaku is a good person, and he himself has no intention of resisting Konoha. This point can be seen from the original work. He clearly guessed that Itachi was taking action for the third generation and Danzo, but he still did not resist. Anyway, Itachi will definitely defect after killing them. If he really wants to resist, he can turn on the kaleidoscope, which can greatly weaken Konoha's strength even if he can't kill the third generation. In the end, with Itachi's presence, absolutely no one in Konoha dared to touch Sasuke. Even if there are people who are not afraid of death, the third generation will protect Sasuke in order to prevent the blood stain of Sharingan from disappearing. But none of this happened, he just accepted death quietly. This is our position, and you are forced to take that path. Hearing Fugaku's story and Chenshin's emotion, several people present had different expressions. Minato put away his gentle smile, although serious but lifeless. Hazu was worried, fearing that the Hyuga family would have such a day. Orochimaru was expressionless, now he only loves science. Only Jiraiya looked ugly, but this was not directed at Uchiha Fugaku, but at the previous leadership. Ever since the second Hokage Senju Tobirama appointed Uchiha to serve as the security department, Konoha's calculations against Uchiha have never stopped. It is inevitable that the work of the security department will offend civilians, and then slowly exclude Uchiha from the core of Konoha, forcing them to cling firmly to the only way out of the security department. After the third generation came to power, the situation intensified. If it were not for the heavy casualties in the war, Uchiha would not even think of leaving Konoha. But even so, during the war, the third generation often used the Uchiha clan as cannon fodder, and many people died. It was Chen Tian who prevented the tragedy of the Nine-Tails Night, otherwise this hat would also be pinned on the Uchiha clan. Let alone the arrogant Uchiha clan, even if it were anyone else, they would definitely resist. Every one of them knows these things, but they can't come up with any solutions now. Konoha is at fault, but Uchiha's arrogance is also a problem. It is impossible for them to mingle with civilians. Looking at Sasuke, who was later exterminated, even he looked down on other people. One can imagine Uchiha's style. If you give them reputation, the proud Uchiha will look down on others even more. Under such circumstances, even if Fugaku is allowed to enter the core of Konoha, the situation will not improve in any way. After Minato told the key to the problem, Fugaku was silent for a while, not knowing what to say. He is the patriarch of Uchiha. He understands Uchiha better than anyone else. This is simply an unsolvable problem. After that, several people discussed it all night, and even Orochimaru expressed a lot of opinions, but still did not find a feasible solution. In the end, Chen Tian had no choice but to say, "Leave this matter to me, give me some time to think about it." After that, it was officially over. After returning to Konoha, I was naturally greeted by a road lined with people. Both sides of the road were densely packed with people. The civilians looked at them with pride. These are my ninjas of Konoha. The ninja looked at them all in admiration, as if they were looking at gods. Unconsciously, these ninjas became more loyal to Konoha and liked Konoha like this even more. If your own ninja is bullied, someone will naturally stand up for you, even if it means attacking other ninja villages. Minato didn't expect this. He didn't expect this at all. It was an unexpected surprise. After doing this, Orochimaru dove into his laboratory. Jiraiya's eyes turned red when he looked at the bathhouse. The remaining two clan leaders couldn't wait to return to the family. Only Chenshin had nothing to do and went to Ichiraku ramen slowly. "Uncle, please give me a bowl of miso ramen, please add some toppings." "Okay, coming right away." After ordering the dishes, Chen Tian glanced around a few times and didn't see a chorus, so he stopped paying attention. Unexpectedly, when I turned around, I saw two little carrot heads, Uchiha Shisui and Uchiha Itachi. Although Chen Tian is not very old, his modified figure is almost as tall as Kakashi. What's the matter with you? Looking at the two men, like a turtle, holding a bowl and moving towards him little by little, Chen Tian drew two black lines on his forehead. Who would have thought that the future weasel god would look like this funny now? Although he is Chen Tian's little fanboy. Ahem. As if they were frightened, the two of them choked on the noodle soup. After they recovered, they said, Senior Chenshin, last time you said it would take a while. Oh, after reacting, it turned out that the two little carrot heads couldn't wait any longer, and then said, I have already talked about this matter with your father, and we will deal with it together. If you want to know, go back and ask your father. Looking at Itachi's cute look, Chen Tian could no longer hold back the mischievous spirit in his heart. A Motu killer held down Itachi's head and said, My stupid brother, just leave this matter to us. Oh, I've wanted to give it a try. For a moment, Chen Tian felt that his middle school spirit was satisfied. But what followed was unparalleled embarrassment, and I wanted to find a crack in the ground to crawl into. I finished the handmade ramen in a few bites, dropped the money and ran away. After getting away from Ichiraku ramen, he breathed a sigh of relief, it's too sloppy. But it feels so good. I guess all Naruto fans want to do this once. Chenshin was reminiscing when there was a sudden bump, and a person bumped into him. Oops. Chen Tian was strong and did not move at all, but the man who collided with him fell to the ground. Looking closely, you can see the jet black hair, red pupils, red lips and an initially developing figure. Who else could it be if it wasn't Yuhi Kurenai? Are you okay? I was distracted. I'm very sorry. He gently helped Shirahong up. Chenshin's attitude was very sincere, but he didn't let go. There was nothing he could do, because next to Kurenai, his father Yuhi Junhong stared at him with murderous eyes. Especially when looking at Chen Tian holding the red jade hand, this look is even more sinister. Do you really think I didn't see it on purpose? Didn't I see the smile that flashed across your lips before? Seeing that Shiri Junhong couldn't hold it any longer, Chen Tian finally let go of Hong's little hand. Then he greeted Junhong as if nothing had happened. His relationship with Junhong has always been good, especially after the Night of Nine Tails, the relationship became even stronger. That's why Junhong allowed Hong to hit Chen Tian without taking any action to stop it. After finishing the conversation, Chenshin went to Minato's house to sit with Kushina, and after teasing little Naruto, he was ready to return to his home. After a tiring day, the sun had already set when I returned home in the morning, leaving only the last ray of the setting sun. The golden setting sun shines on the earth, and the slightly rippling lake surface exudes tranquility, making people feel relaxed and happy. Looking at the scenery in front of him, Chen Tian's irritable heart calmed down. But when he opened the door, an accident happened. With a cry of "Pong," the sound of water breaking suddenly sounded, and a figure galloped out of the lake and appeared behind Chen Tian in an instant. Substitution. When he was about to catch the morning sky turned into a white mist, leaving only a tree trunk. After directly crushing the substitute wood, the man slowly turned around, and Chen Tian, who was standing by the lake, saw his appearance clearly. I haven't seen this person since time travel, but I have seen it in the original work, and it turns out to be Biliuhu. After recognizing the person's identity, Chen Tian knew his purpose. He was eyeing the limit of his own blood inheritance. But Chenshin was very curious, didn't Biliuhu know his own strength? Where do you get the courage to target yourself? You have good strength, so you can become my perfect nourishment. Before Chen Tian could ask, Biliuhu had already spoken first. His perverted look made Chen Tian sick to his stomach. But Biliuhu obviously didn't care about Chenshin's mood and continued, it's not in vain that I hid in this lake for so many days. As long as you can get it, it's worth it. Biliuhu's self-created Oni Yaluo technique can use this technique to rob other people's blood inheritance boundaries, so looking at Chen Tian's appearance, you will be as fanatical as you want, as greedy as you want. But his words unintentionally answered Chen Tian's doubts. It turned out that this guy had been in the lake and had not received any recent news. No wonder he came to find him. The ignorant are truly fearless. Now that there are no more doubts, it's time to send you on your way. Even Chen Tian felt annoyed after being attacked by someone. Escape from Earth, Yellow Spring Marsh. Rage. Instant body technique. In an instant, Chen Tian used 3 ninjutsus one after another, controlling Biliuhu and then flashed past. Behind him, only Beliu was left, a body that had begun to lose the breath of life. How can it be so strong? Plop. Having said the last words with difficulty, Beliu completely turned into a corpse. But there was still a touch of shock and disbelief in his eyes. Even if he died, he never expected that a child would be so powerful. This strength is probably not comparable to that of the ninja god Senju Hashirama when he was the same age, right? With that speed before, not to mention him, there shouldn't be many people below the shadow level who can react, right? These thoughts were just fleeting and he could never speak them out again. After his death, a flashing red card appeared nearby, and Chen Tian put it away without hesitation. The red card is the secret technique, Oni Yaluo's technique. Is it fused? Trash. Give up. Chen Tian curled his lips and crushed the card in disgust. If I want to reach the limit of blood succession, why don't I use the system instead of using the magic of Oni Yaluo like you, a hot chick? It overlaps with the system, but it is not as easy to use and safe as the system. It also has many side effects. Chenshin is not stupid, so why do you need this? But this body cannot be handed over to the village chief, it must be disposed of. Art fire escape fireball. While murmuring, a fire from the morning sky burned Beliu's body, leaving nothing behind. If it is handed over to the village chief now, they will definitely learn the art of Oni Yaluo. This is a piece of cake for him, but for others it is a treasure. If someone can't resist its temptation, Konoha will definitely experience another turmoil. Even if no one is interested, there is still Danzo Shimura in Konoha. Having pressed the blood chakra eyes on one arm and injected Hashirama cells, he would not let go of such a secret technique. Chenshin is not in the habit of subsidizing his enemies, so it would be better to deal with them once and for all. After washing the ground with water, Chen Tian returned to his room and began to rest. Because this place is far enough away from Konoha, and Beliu did not make any big noise for the sneak attack, so no one knows what is going on here in Chenshin. Beliu disappeared into the ninja world without even noticing it, without causing any waves. After sleeping until noon the next day, Chen Tian finally got rid of the seal of the quilt and struggled to get up. I personally cooked some long-lost Chinese delicacies, such as kung pao chicken, spicy and sour potato chips, and fish-flavored shredded pork. I started to drool when I smelled the smell. As a single man in his previous life, Chenshin was very good at cooking in order to fill his stomach. Bump bump. Just as he was about to enjoy the delicious food, he heard someone knocking on the door. Morning Tien, who was too lazy to open the door, used a perception ninjutsu. After recognizing that the person outside the door was Kakashi, he leisurely said, "Come in yourself." "What's the matter?" Chen Tian asked hesitantly after stuffing a mouthful of food into his mouth. "Minato-sensei has something to discuss with you and asks you to go to the Hokage's office." After completing the order, Kakashi turned his attention to the food and asked, "What are you talking about? Why haven't I seen it before?" He smelled the fragrance as soon as he entered the door, and he couldn't hold it any longer. Looking at Kakashi's expression, Chen Tian knew that Minato was not in a hurry, so he greeted, come on, let's have something to eat together." Kakashi is not polite either. "You and I started eating with just one chopstick." While eating, Chen Tian asked, "Brother Minato, what do you want from me?" "The high-yield food promoted by you and Orochimaru-sama has given civilians in the Land of Fire a surplus of food, so many criminals have appeared." At this point, Kakashi couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth, and then continued, "I realized after catching them that they have nothing to do after they are full, so find something to do for yourself." Kakashi found it incomprehensible when he thought about this. He used to be busy working every day when he didn't have enough to eat. But now that he has enough to eat, he just messes around when he has nothing to do. It's so simple. Hearing what Kakashi said, Chen Tian suddenly understood. This kind of thing also happened in the previous life. After Yuan greatly increased food production, the Chinese people also had a period of time. It just calmed down later when the entertainment culture developed and people had things to kill their time. It seems that the development of entertainment culture in Konoha will also be put on the agenda. Thinking about Chen Tian, I feel dizzy. He just wanted to help Minato strengthen Konoha. Why are there so many things going on now? Uchiha's problems, the crime rate in the country of fire, one by one, are all his responsibility. After the two of them finished eating, a water escaper took care of the dishes, and then they went to the Hokage building together. After arriving at the Hokage building, Minato was the only one inside. Nara Shikaku, who was helping him handle government affairs, must have gone out to eat. Shaoshan, you are here. Kakashi should have told you. Is there any solution? Minato's face was full of hope, and he was obviously very worried about this matter. Originally, these things were managed by the daimyo, but now the common people have identified Konoha, and Minato can't bear to drive them away, so this situation has arisen. Chenshin did not disappoint him. He nodded and said, I have an idea, but it will take some time. If there's a way, that's good, if there's a way, that's good. When Minato heard this, he was so happy that he couldn't open his mouth from ear to ear. He was so tormented by such trivial matters. He had to deal with hundreds of such matters a day. It was simply inhumane and left him no time to spend with his son. Sometimes he wanted to abdicate directly, give up the position of Hokage to others, and stay at home peacefully. After bidding farewell to Minato, Chenshin came all the way to Orochimaru's laboratory. After saying hello, he talked about what he needed. After telling Orochimaru about a series of things including cameras, video cropping software, etc., including functions and styles, he asked, how long will it take to develop these? 1 month at most, you can pick it up yourself then. After saying that, Orochimaru waved his hand and started to chase people away. In fact, these things have begun to appear now. 12 years later, Mount Fuji will be a big star. So with the basic knowledge, these things are not difficult for Orochimaru at all. Chen Tian thought many times that Orochimaru was the greatest treasure in the world. As long as the time traveler has received 9 years of compulsory education and casually talks to Orochimaru about physics and chemistry, he can reward you 10,000 times. After making preliminary preparations, Chenshin began to think about the problems of the Uchiha clan. This matter is a huge process, and it is impossible to complete it in a while. The first is to list the problems. One is the suppression of Uchiha by the upper management of Konoha, which has been solved. Second, the middle-level ninjas and civilians in Konoha are hostile to Uchiha, which is deeply rooted and very difficult to deal with. Third, the Uchiha clan is extremely arrogant, completely looking down on other ninjas and civilians, and showing no repentance. The second and third problems are another vicious cycle. The more Uchiha looks down on other people, the more hostile those people become to them. It's not easy to solve. Rubbing his chin, Chen Tian fell into deep thought. If you want to solve the problem, you must change the attitude of the Uchiha clan, but their pride is engraved in their bones and cannot be changed at all. In addition, we need to find a way for Uchiha to integrate into Konoha, but these villagers are unwilling. The root of the problem lies in the third point, the attitude of Uchiha. As long as they can change, even if it takes a long time, they can always integrate into Konoha. But how to change it? Those are all stubborn donkeys. Sorrow, Chen Tian's brows were all knitted together and he couldn't let go at all, just like an old man in his 70s or 80s. Yes, Chen Tian suddenly clapped his hands, showed a surprised smile, and said, since there is no way to make them give up their pride, then let them change the way they are proud. In this case, let's write a book called, The Correct Posture of Uchiha Pride. Whatever he wanted to do, he immediately took out a pen and paper. Looking at the pen and paper in front of me, my mind instantly went back to the time when I was writing about breaking the sky and making money. But these are all fleeting, the focus is still on writing. First of all, Uchiha's pride in treating civilians. He doesn't bother to take advantage when buying things, and he can even give him more money. The civilians are too proud to say hello and are too lazy to look down on them, so they respond more friendly than they do, proving that I am doing better than you. When civilians encounter problems, I am a proud Uchiha, and I can easily help you solve them. The second one is pride in dealing with other ninjas. I am the strongest when encountering conflicts, and I am so proud that I look down on conflicts with them, so I can take a step back. When it comes to completing the task, you are all scum, and I must complete it better than you. When we cooperate with each other, I am the strong one and give you a chance to perform. I will definitely obey orders and make no mistakes, and I can also give you guidance. When in danger, you are too weak, the proud Uchiha comes to save you. The third one is to treat the pride of Konoha's top management. When faced with an order, is this the only thing? It will be completed in minutes for you to see. When we met on the road, it turned out to be you. As a proud person like me, I had to speak first and say hello before you. The fourth is the pride in dealing with the enemy. If you can't defeat me, then just wait for death. Summary. Facing the villagers, I am proud to do better than other ninjas. Facing the Konoha ninja, I am proud to perform better than you, whether it is fighting, executing orders, getting along with others, etc. Facing the enemy, I saw the ones who kill the most and the most ferociously. That's roughly what it means. Chenshin wrote much more than we talked, and he stopped after writing a total of 40,000 to 50,000 words. On the home page, he wrote, "The correct posture of Uchiha pride," written in large letters, Chen Tien. After that, he put down the pen in his hand with satisfaction. Now everything is ready, all we need is east wind. All we need is for everyone in Uchiha to read this book familiarly or even memorize it. But this is also a big problem. After all, they will not just listen to Chen Tien. Let alone the morning sky. Even if Minato goes there in person, I'm afraid it won't have any effect. This requires a little planning, but it needs to be discussed with Fugaku. Tisk, it's already so late, let's go tomorrow. Looking at the darkening sky outside, Chenshin gave up the idea of leaving for Uchiha. Putting away the correct posture of proud Uchiha in his hand with great care, Chenshin began to tinker with his dinner. Early on the next morning, I arrived at the Uchiha rental land in a bright and honest manner. This place is now incompatible with Konoha. It still has backward wooden houses and looks like a primitive village. Stop. This is the land of the Uchiha clan. Anyone else can get out of here. Before he even entered the door, Chenshin was stopped by two Uchiha Chunin. The two looked at Chenshin with disdain. They have heard of Chenshin's name, but they don't believe that Chenshin really has that kind of strength. Hehehehe, isn't this the great genius of Konoha? Should we teach him a lesson? A hook-nosed Uchiha Chunin turned his eyes, showed a sinister smile, and stared at the morning sky with evil intentions. Okay, I like to teach geniuses the best. The other person didn't hesitate at all and nodded instantly in agreement. With the Uchiha clan. Isn't your Konoha blowing very hard? Then no wonder we slap you in the face. Seeing the two of them working together, constantly pushing towards him, a smile suddenly appeared on the corner of Chen Tien's mouth, revealing a cute dimple. I didn't expect Fugaku to be so cooperative and even find someone to act opposite me. It seems that he is really interested in it. The two of them had already discussed before, letting Chen Tien defeat all the Uchihas with his own power, so that they would surrender. This is especially suitable for Chen Tien to come, because Chen Tien is young enough and strong enough to fully attack Uchiha. In this way, under Fugaku's instruction, Chenshin can give lectures to Uchiha, and no one is dissatisfied. Since Fugaku is so well prepared, I can't let him down. Thank you both for your hard work. I apologized secretly in my heart, and activated the morning sky teleportation technique, and appeared behind the two of them like a black lightning bolt, but neither of them reacted. The next moment, in order to be realistic enough, Chen Tien did not show mercy and circled the backs of the two people's heads. The blood chakra eyes of the two Uchihas were still turning, but they no longer had the chance to look at Chen Tien, and they fell limply to the ground. Good acting. I must ask Fugaku to give you 2 chicken drumsticks. He nodded with satisfaction, turned around and continued forward. It means that Fugaku doesn't know what's going on here, so he must be very confused in taking charge. I don't have any manpower at all, I'm just waiting for you to call me. 2 Uchiha Chunin. We are not acting, we just want to show off, you don't need to be so heavy-handed. It's a pity that Chen Tien didn't know all this, otherwise he would have tried harder to keep them hospitalized for 10 days and a half. But this did not affect Chen Tien's follow-up plan. He went straight to the Uchiha ancestral land. In order to establish his authority, Fugaku summoned most of the people there in the name of a meeting and waited for Chen Tien to come. So he didn't encounter any obstacles afterwards and came here smoothly. Creak. With a sound, the ancestral land of the Uchiha clan was pushed open, and hundreds of pairs of blood eyes suddenly looked over. Turning a blind eye to these looks, Chenshin said leisurely, I heard that your Uchiha clan is very crazy. How can I try to see if you have this strength? Boy, if you dare to act wild against me, the Uchiha clan, even the Hokage is here today and I can't save you. Looking for death. I don't know how high the world is, but you, the Uchiha clan, can provoke me. Here I go, I'll kill this little brat. In an instant, all the Uchiha people were so excited that they wanted to spit on their flesh, and their eyes were full of anger. As long as Uchiha Fugaku gives the order, they will immediately tear Chenshin into pieces. Fugaku just watched quietly, with no intention of speaking. He sighed secretly in worry, the Uchiha are really corrupt. Even the original Madara is not as crazy as them. Haha, one person is not enough for me to fight, you all can come together. Chenshin sneered and gave Fugaku a wink, indicating that he could start. Blinking in understanding, Fugaku's angry voice suddenly sounded, if you dare to let me, Uchiha, act wildly, kill him. Boom. Uchiha, who had been furious for a long time, heard this and instantly exploded, rushing towards the morning sky. This is the Uchiha ancestral land, and they have too many people. Using ninjutsu will not only destroy the ancestral land, but also accidentally injure their own people, so it is better to use taijutsu. Chen Tian instantly understood what they meant, in this case, I won't take advantage of you either. He came here just to defeat Uchiha, but after taking advantage, it would have no effect. Although under the effect of so many blood chakra eyes, the insight must be terrible, but this is the best effect. Brush, brush, brush. In terms of physical fitness in a single round, Chen Tian is not inferior to Metkai, who will not be able to use the 8 gates of Dunjia in the future. In addition, he can use thunder chakra to stimulate cells, and his teleportation technique is far beyond ordinary people. Like a constantly ejecting electric current, Chenshin's figure flashed back and forth in the Uchiha ancestral land, and the afterimages lingered for a long time. In just 2 or 3 minutes, when Chen Tian reappeared, he was in front of Uchiha Fugaku. The afterimages behind him began to dissipate. Every time the afterimages dissipated, an Uchiha tribesman fell to the ground and let out bursts of wailing. For the subsequent drama of beating Fugaku down, Chen Tian deliberately did not knock these people unconscious so that they could see clearly. But it's better to faint. In order to establish his authority, he showed no mercy. These people also broke a few bones. Fugaku's eyelids twitched when he saw this. Here are all the tribesmen who have opened their blood chakra eyes. Now they are all beaten. How much medical expenses will this cost? Uchiha has a big business, but he can't stand being so pretentious. This is the so-called Uchiha. It's really funny. I hope you won't disappoint me, Uchiha clan leader. Chenshin gave full play to his understanding from his previous life, that is, cursing people has no effect, but strange yin and yang energy can make people mad. Looking at the Uchiha who were lying on the ground behind them, they couldn't even care about howling, their eyes were piercing the sky like knives. If looks could kill, Chen Tian would probably have died countless times, but it was a pity that these people's illusions could not affect him at all. You dare to insult me, Uchiha, like this, I will die with you today. Fugaku, who was sitting on his knees, was about to stand up, but other voices sounded next to him. Looking at the sound, it turned out to be the elders of the Uchiha clan. Looking at these people standing up tremblingly, Chen Tian was afraid that they would fall apart. Are you trying to cheat? Are you here to cheat? Are there people in the ninja world who are cheating? With his eyelids trembling, Chen Tian hurriedly signaled to Fugaku that he didn't want to fight these people. What if a few of them died suddenly? I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.